Margaret Stump has travelled across Knox County in the hottest summer she can remember. Starting out on her trusty motorbike Vincent, she upgraded to Beatrice the bus and explored many towns and cities searching for her long-lost husband, Leslie. On one fateful day, she found a note that detailed the tragic death of her stinky partner. The note led her to Louisville, where we rejoin her now at her mansion base as she begins the long and painful adventure of clearing out Louisville block by block to establish a new life for herself in the dead city. Good morning, Margaret, on your 101st day. First, she gets properly dressed again, though she keeps the fetching fur coat on, then heads out on the foggy morning to clear more of Louisville astride her new best pal, Alan the ATV. Alan. She crashes immediately. A good omen for the 100 days to come, no doubt. More zombies have wandered up to an area she has previously cleared, so she toots Alan's glorious little honker and begins a fresh slaughter on her 101st day. And the slaughter begins again. Strip down the zombies again, Margaret, a big pile of flesh and flies. Margaret sits and ponders and rests in the middle of the road. She has found some kind of peace here. Just her crowbar, and a horde of willing zombies. The slaughter continues until she must rest. Margaret sits in the cupboard. Margaret loves. She slays more zombies. The day is long and gory, then rests again. She thinks the crowbar is actually slowing her down a little, and she considers swapping to another weapon for maximum swinging proficiency. Margaret heads into the radio station to see what's inside. The corridors are a little unsettling. She rifles through desks for cigarettes, makes her way slowly to the second floor, and finds one of the recording studios. Hello, my name's Margaret Stump. I'm the last lady alive in the world. She sits in the host's chair and smokes a cigarette and addresses the dead nation. I am Queen Margaret of Louisville. Margaret climbs to the top floor and stands on the helicopter pad. Louisville sprawls out around her. The air smells of death, and it is deathly silent. Oh my god, that made me jump. Oh, the reflex push. Oh god, that made my heart skip. The egg commands you to like the video and subscribe. Please. After that fright, Margaret wisely decides it's time to head home, so it's back on Alan and home to the mansion. She sits on her chair, sat right on top of her two dolls, and reads before bed. It's her first night sleeping in the mansion, but she is awoken early in the morning with another night terror. She stares out of the window. There is no one there, of course. For comfort, she returns to the bus, and the great egg in the sky forces her to do exercise to tire her out. Margaret snuffles some sleeping pills to try and reset her sleeping pattern, but when she tries to snuggle down in Beatrice, if you can sleep... Wow, she's really not having a good time. The only answer for poor sleepers is manual toil, Margaret, so the egg commands you to begin disassembling furniture in the mansions down the road. Only... What the... He clearly forgot to clear this mansion. Margaret grabs these metal shelves and waddles back home to begin jazzing up her own mansion. This is where the guns and weapons will live, and then gets distracted outside by cutting down some trees. The trees are blocking the sightline to the road, and she'll need plenty of planks anyway. It's glorious manual labour, though she does get tired very quickly. Whew. Hard work out here, isn't it, Margaret? Upstairs, she rests on her lovely new double bed. She needs to bring some bugs up here very soon. Her nap quickly turns into a full-blown sleep. She is completely exhausted after cutting down the small forest outside. She wakes up at 10 to 2 in the morning. Oh dear Margaret, she is not sleeping well at all. She misses the rumble of the road and the hum of Beatrice's engine. Because she must continue on, she cuts down more trees in the very early morning, cautiously listening for the gurgle of a zombie in the dark. She works for 6 hours until the sun is up and the cold morning air whistles through the tree stumps. Ah, dear, oh dear. Hard manual toil, Margaret, hard manual toil. But her work is not done yet. Your work will never be done until the egg says it is so, or you die, Margaret. Such is life, even in the apocalypse. She heads down the road to dismantle some furniture in the neighbouring mansion. Unfortunately, the destruction makes her severely depressed, and even this can of cold beans can't solve that problem. We pop back to the base to try and remedy Margaret's qualms. She's hungry and severely depressed. Sounds like me on an average Tuesday, Margaret. The solution to depression is, of course, to stick a VHS on the telly, sit in a comfy chair and read about carpentry. She reads well into the evening, grabs a single chilled beer and then falls asleep in Beatrice. She still feels much safer in here. The hum of Beatrice's soft voice coos her to sleep without incident. On day 104, to break up the monotony, she heads back out on Allen to clear more areas of Louisville, block by block. She rests in an upstairs room, then commences the slaughter, swapping out to a tin club baseball bat, which makes beautifully satisfying thunking noises every time she slams it into a zombie's head. The chaos continues until 5 PM, and although she didn't make much progress, it still felt like a productive day. She'll be back soon, little zombies. Oh, Margaret. 4,578 zombies killed. Almost 5. Let's pop back, I think. It's enough slaughter for one day. Before heading home, she turns on the siren in the ambulance to hopefully just draw them away from lingering too close to her mansion. The duck joins. Council, do not eat the bugs, duck. I will be very upset if you eat the bugs. She reads on her chair with a soft VHS in the background and then sleeps in the bus. Good night, Margaret. A night terror. She begins with an emergency morning cigarette, of course, then it's off down the road to continue her disassembling adventure. This goes on until 5 PM. Each mansion is taking around a full workday to disassemble. She also grabs these flamingos for good measure. She needs more friends, you see. Oh, it's okay. It's just a flamingo. Is it saying something to you, Margaret? A little flamingo whisper. It is a simple day in the apocalypse. She treasures these kinds of days, the slow ones with a practical task at hand and a new flock of flamingos to call her friends. She reads before bed, then sleeps again. On day 106, she puts down the rest of the flamingos and clears up some of the scruffy grass. Her bird friends will only have the best. Ah yes, our little flock of flamingos, whispering to each other. Spooky little guys, aren't they? Then it's off into the city once more to break up the monotony and give her hammer a rest. She turns on this siren next to the radio station and, well, welcome to Louisville, Margaret. Yeah, there's just a few of them. Yeah, okay. Here comes the swarm, the shambling swarm, the groaning, grotesque dead stumbling from their houses and from down alleyways. Margaret forgot her shotgun for this encounter, but she's Margaret goddamn Stump, and she'd rather cave their heads in with her tin can club up close and personal so she can see their dead eyes. Oh my god. Absolute slaughter. Goodness me, Margaret. Ah, peace and quiet at last. Right, 4:30. The day of slaughter, we probably killed over 100 zombies there. The cleansing is complete. One neighborhood out of 1,000 or more. Margaret Stump is only just getting started. Her boots squelch over the sea of flesh. The Queen of Louisville jumps on the ATV and heads home. Yes, I worship you, flamingos. We treat her to a fish from the oven, put some bugs onto her bed, and then do some DIY, walking through some walls to open up the space. Really let the light in. Open plan zombie apocalypse living. Good night, Margaret. I hope you sleep well. It's snowing. Ah, the first snow of the year, Margaret. And on day 107, the snow falls on the living. That's just Margaret. And all the dead. Everyone else in Kentucky, apparently. She lights a fire and warms her hands. She is alive for another winter. The cold weather reminds her she needs to fill up the generator with more gas, and then it's out on Allen to disassemble more furniture. Her hands are obviously numb because... ouch! All of the destruction has made her miserable, so she heads home, sets up the piano she found in the hallway, and drinks a beer to give her a little buzz on this chilly evening. She reads, then heads up to bed. Let's see if the bugs help you sleep better. They did. She slept forever, till 20 to 10. On day 108, she heads out on Allen towards the radio station as she wants to clear another neighborhood. She goes from building to building and finds some very interesting things indeed. Oh, another katana. Nice. You found 2 already. Very rare. And there's a little note here. Susie just got her new sword from her father. What was he thinking? The girl is only 11 years old. Why does she need a katana? The man has lost his mind. Could have come in handy. I'll certainly make use of it. Thank you, Susie. Biffo juice. Ugh. She can also leave these extremely satisfying X's on her map. Perfection. Ah, the toilet paper house. 75 rolls of toilet paper. More toilet paper here? Yeah. Toilet paper. Just going to check out Spiffos, I think, before we leave. Margaret does a ketchup raid on Spiffos. I think she carries around 10 bottles back with her and then hops on Allen to return to the base before it gets too dark and cold. She gets home, stuffs a handful of pickles into her mouth and then reads about carpentry before going to bed with her bugs. Margaret wakes up peckish on day 109, so she prepares a lovely egg sandwich with some wild eggs and half the loaf she found on one of those wandering nomads. Then it's down the road to do some foraging because Margaret would really love some more eggs. The god of eggs shines upon her. It bestows her with a yellow yolky light like an egg angel because Margaret finds many, many eggs. Egg, 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 egg. Some lovely peanuts. Nice, we hit level 10 in foraging. Margaret is a master forager. A field of eggs. Carrying more than a dozen eggs in her backpack, Margaret decides to clear out some of the neighborhood nearby. She's here anyway, so why not? The area is pretty peaceful after a massacre on the main road a week ago. As expected, there isn't much to see here, some tinned goods and what have you, but it does mean she can make more X's on her map. When the evening light begins to fade, she heads back home. Margaret's little doll collection with their empty doll eyes. At least they aren't zombies. After nestling down in her dolls, she puts on a carpentry VHS and reads before bed. A simple life for our little queen. Day 110 brings foul weather. It's windy with freezing sideways rain and distant thunder. Margaret decides to spend the day doing household chores rather than go outside, like smashing things up, taking a bath, and then smashing more things up. She builds a crate in the gun room, eats another egg sandwich, and then does some farming in the rain. The carrots are ready to harvest, and she does pick a few, but they're not bearing seeds yet, so she'll wait for the rest to mature a little. It is still quite a treat to eat her very first grown food from Stump Farm, though. Amazing. We're going to put those in the freezer because there's no way we can eat all of those. She drives Alan into the garage to do some checks on the state of the little ATV. It needs engine repairs pretty desperately. Then she sits and listens to a VHS while she reads. Outside, she builds a rain collector, seeing as the sinks are empty in the house, then finally puts a door on the back of the building, as well as some shelves and a little bookcase. She stands outside underneath the gazebo and smokes a cigarette while listening to the storm. Margaret remembers to check her fish traps and finds a single small bait fish inside. It's something, at least. Then she has dinner. An egg burger this time, Margaret. You do spoil us yourself, don't you? After dinner, she reads, stuffs more pickles into her face for dessert, then goes to bed after a cozy day in Louisville. Good night, Margaret. Hope the weather's cleared up in the morning. Margaret is up early on day 111, so she cooks a TV dinner and eats it sat in her chair, then reads until 6 a.m. Off she heads on Allen into the city. She parks up at the radio station and removes the engine parts from these cars to give her little ATV friend some TLC. There are a few zombies to dispatch, but this is nothing she can't handle. Margaret investigates the pizza shop and next door laundromat. She rummages through bins to collect garbage bags. She needs them for rain collectors, and Margaret does love bins and trash. Then clears out more zombies in the street. More buildings hit the checklist, then some more bins, and then she stumbles into a bowling alley. It's a beautiful sight, dark and stinky, but the place reminds her of the old world. She wants to sink a couple of Skittles, but someone has run off with all the bowling balls. One little zombie tries to get a nick out of her, but her boots protect her again. She grabs this jukebox because she wants to take it home a bit later on. It weighs a bit much right now. Then kills more zombies just for fun, really. Now it's time to head home on Allen because it's rainy and dark and chilly. At home she reads before bed, cooking at the moment, and tries to sleep in her bug-infested bed, but suffers another night terror. More horrible weather. Anxious. Shouldn't have sent her to bed without a cigarette. She returns to the warm comfort of Beatrice's stomach and then reads until the morning. Because she slept so poorly and the weather is so disgusting, she spends a couple of hours organising loot and transferring stuff from Beatrice over to the mansion. She has to get some bug time, of course. Big fat slug, nominated to the position of lead counsellor. Margaret also does some cooking, because what else is there to do on a cosy rainy day? Pour it over your face, Margaret, that boiling stew. She does step out to start the foundations of a little gatehouse for the mansion, but she doesn't get too far. The rain is thick and heavy and the hammer keeps slipping in her hands. She goes back inside where it is drier. Begin decorating our house with all of Margaret's hats, of course. When the rain calms down a little, she saws more logs for planks. Then she hops in the nameless truck, poor nameless truck, to disassemble some of the washers in the nearby laundromat. She needs spare electronic parts to repair the generator, which she then fixes up in the dark. Let's go straight to bed, shall we, Margaret? Busy day, productive day. Good night, my sweet. And another night terror. Must be bloody cold in this room. This is literally just a smashed open window, Margaret. On day 113, she does some more cooking, then sits in front of the roaring fire and peacefully reads her book. The snow falls softly on the dead world outside, but in here, Margaret is cozy. Margaret hauls in this arcade machine, which doesn't work unfortunately, then heads out when the snow has stopped falling. Hello, neighbour. Try to come home with me. I'll put you in my pocket. Come up. She disassembles furniture for the entire day, clearing 2 mansions of their chairs and tables and stools. When it's dark and she's feeling a little sleepy, she heads home, does some more cooking and then reads before bed. Another simple day. Margaret is really beginning to settle into this life of hers. I hope that she lives forever. We'll try and sleep in the bus and see if that prevents us from having a night terror. It'd be really nice to wake up at a regular time, Margaret. Good night. Good morning, Margaret, from the back of Beatrice on another foggy morning. Margaret begins day 114 transporting googies from Beatrice to the house. She puts down David, her neighbour turned best friend, then hops on Alan to head to the gas station. Margaret hooks up the generator to fill the ATV with gas. Then she rides into town to investigate this apartment block. Every building must be cleared, even these unpleasant ones swarmed with zombies and full of twisting, narrow corridors. That's quite a lot. This is the first slaughter of many to come in the next few days, and it begins in the parking lot of the apartment building. She slices her way into the building and then through it, though she is a little anxious about the whole thing. These enclosed spaces is where Margaret will perish, I think. Just sit on the toilet for a moment and consider whether this is really worth it, Margaret. She sits on the toilet and listens to the undead thud against every crevice of the rotting apartment block. On she goes, working her way through each empty apartment. Margaret still can't really face going upstairs. She heads outside instead to kill zombies there, then onto a bigger parking lot where she also kills zombies. Keep this ambulance in mind, Margaret has a plan for it, which I'm sure you already know. When it gets dark, it's back to Alan and the sweet embrace of the cozy mansion. She reads for a short while, then it's off to bed. Good night, my sweet. Sleep with your bugs. Time for some destruction, Margaret, I think. Day 115 is a brutal one. It's time for the shotgun. There are more zombies than she expects, but Margaret, you must understand that this is Louisville. She realises just how many there are as she ducks and weaves between the growing horde. Margaret weaves them up the road, edging back towards areas she has already cleared, so that she knows her back is safe. It is utter destruction. The shotgun is firm and steady in her hands. The bloodshed continues for hours. Hundreds of zombies turn to red dust, peppered with shotgun slugs. Okay then. 5,215 zombies slayed now. We have probably drawn them back into where we live, but that's okay. Margaret makes her way back to retrieve Alan from the sea of dead. She uses the crowbar to begin with to stay a little quieter, but she begins to get exhausted, so she has to change to the shotgun again. So begins another train of destruction, but she's calm this time and she kills zombies until it begins to get dark. Eventually most of them are gone and she can calmly make her way back to the ATV. She leaves the siren on in the ambulance to see how many will be drawn in for tomorrow's slaughter. Like chucking chum on a lake, the fish come snapping. At home, she calms down by harvesting her seed-bearing carrots. Her hands are shaky as she pries the orange flesh from the ground. She shoves 5 to 6 carrots in her mouth immediately. They are still covered in dirt, but she doesn't mind. Margaret checks how many shotgun shells she has left. Enough, she reckons, to kill 400 or 500 more zombies. Not enough really to last her for an entire adventure in Louisville, but that's a task for another day. As for now, she gulps down a beer, reads a book and heads to bed after a busy, violent day. She literally slept for 20 minutes and then had a night terror. Oh, double terror. Having nightmares of all the zombies she slaughtered today. Their heads exploding with goo. Might be because she's covered in blood, so... Oh, your hair is very long again, Margaret. She takes a bath to wash the gore from her body. Margaret stands for a while and plays with the slugs on her bed. It calms her right down, and she is able to get to sleep again. Carrots for breakfast, of course, and then it's out back into town to see what sort of chaos the ambulance has caused. There are a few zombies lingering in the streets, which she takes care of first with the crowbar, but then switching to the katana. It slices the air and slices through zombies like butter. Somehow, during all the chaos, Margaret has misplaced her canteen. Maybe she left it in the bathroom at home, so she drinks from this toilet. There's a good stump. Margaret realizes she's actually not even close to where the ambulance is, and so she takes Alan up the road, and... oh, God. Oh. Oh, no. Alan, what happened? Oh, Alan. I don't know how we didn't die then. Alan, no. Oh, dear. Oh, Alan. That's not good, is it? I don't even know what happened then. That's a fallen soldier. Rest in peace, buddy. Oh, no. I have no idea how Margaret didn't die there. She was actually upside down on the ATV, face smeared into the asphalt, and yet she walked away with no injuries whatsoever. Poor Alan. Rest in peace, buddy. You were a hero while you lasted. Thankfully, this car in the parking lot does work, so Margaret will swap to this for now. No, I wonder. Do I try and... no, I don't think I should try anything too silly. Just suck out his life juices. Pour them into this car, which we have not named yet. Oh, Alan. Oh, he died. That was the sound of him dying. Alan. You poor thing. She takes her new car, as yet unnamed, to see the damage over at the ambulance. There aren't many zombies here at all. Margaret must have done a good job with her shotgun. This ambulance is in decent condition. She thinks it might be the perfect rolling killing machine, driving into a new neighborhood, turning on the siren, rinse and repeat for the future. She checks out a few of the cars in the lot, then heads down the road to the church to pay her respect to her fallen friend Alan, where they all sat and talked about the end of the world. Little did they know it was coming all along. Ah yes, the holy tomato paste. Butter and pickles. Thank you, Lord, for your bountiful butter. Margaret investigates a few other buildings because she is being as thorough as possible in Louisville, but there's nothing to report back on, just the usual loot. Then it's time to head home when it grows dark. Another intense day. Rest in peace, Alan. Poor thing. She heads up to bed, but she has a nightmare about Alan. Fair enough, she had nightmares about Alan, lying alone in the street, dead and gurgling its final breaths. And breathes. Margaret busies herself around the house in the early hours, moving loot from the trailer into the mansion and organising her shelves. When it's finally light outside, she jumps back in the car. There are a few interesting buildings on the map that she wants to check out. She pulls up alongside a huge building, completely unmarked. When she sneaks in, she realises this is the university library. She scours the bookshelves, but she has all the books she needs at home. Margaret finds a single lonely student or teacher, or just a random stranger encased in a glass study room. What a hellish, everlasting existence. She quickly puts the zombie out of its misery. Outside, she finds a building packed to the windows with the undead, which she then dispatches one by one with her beautiful katana. It's clear to Margaret that people had tried to hide in this CCTV room, attempted to barricade the windows, and then watched the chaos unfold across campus on the cameras, each one flickering off, screens turning dark one by one, until from the corner of the room, a gurgle. One of them was bitten many hours ago. The rest is history, until they met Margaret's sharp blade. Margaret checks out the other university buildings because she has no idea what she might find inside. There are zombies, of course there are, but also this pair of beautiful busts, which she carries back to the car to take home with her. She puts both busts on the back seat. When she looks in the rear-view mirror, it's almost like she's off to the mall with her two friends sat in the back, except they're pale white, lifeless and empty behind the eyes. It's just a little comfort for Margaret. She does know she'll never have another real friend again. They're all dead. Everyone is dead. One of the busts whispers to her, "Blow the horn, Margaret, blow the horn, it will be funny." So she does, and the number of zombies that come swarming at her is totally unexpected. Margaret is prepared, however, and slices and dices them to pieces. It's only 1 PM, but Margaret didn't bring any food with her, so she takes the car and the busts back to the house. At home, she prepares an omelette, then carries the male bust up the stairs. She will pretend it is Leslie. It does look a little like him, so she places it at the end of her bed, so that he can forever watch over her sleeping, like the old days. She puts the other bust downstairs. She pretends it's herself, because why shouldn't she have a goddamn statue? Isn't she Margaret Stump? The Margaret Stump, Queen of Louisville, last survivor on Earth? Yes, she deserves a little Stump statue. It's 3 PM already, so rather than commit to any more big looting runs, Margaret just jumps in the old reliable car and does a quick tour of Louisville. Industrial wasteland up here, really. Hello, my zombie friends. I think that's a huge fire station there. Oh my god. The streets are littered with the undead. It's going to be an inevitable epic battle to cross the city. She makes her way back to the mansion. That trip wasn't exactly reassuring, but at least she has a better idea of what's out there now. She smokes and reads before bed. We shall sleep under the gaze of Leslie. Good night, my love. Perfect. It worked. She slept all the way through to 7:30, thanks to Leslie. Mwah. Good morning, Margaret. What is that on the floor? A skirt. On day 118, she continues work on her little gatehouse for the burgeoning Fort Stump. She completes both sides of the entrance, and she is feeling a little woozy, as you will hear. Grab a quick snack. We'll have a dehydrated meat stick. Then she heads out back to block off both of the rear walls. She doesn't want any stray zombies sneaking into her back garden. She cuts down more trees for planks and runs into a conundrum with the large wooden doors. Oh, that's really going to upset me how it doesn't quite fit. Oh, it's just slightly off, Margaret. It's okay, she doesn't have OCD. Margaret admires the new doors, trying not to worry about how wonky they are. She builds a little staircase and surveys her queendom. Nice, this will be our sort of lookout post. It has been a long day cutting and sawing and nailing, and Margaret is still not right in the head. Yummy, yummy canned corned beef. Yummy, yummy canned corned beef. Yummy, yummy canned corned beef. She continues her work on the gatehouse and takes a little tumble. Thankfully, she's not hurt. Ouch. You've got to be a little more careful than that, Margaret. Eat a little bit of corned beef on our new guardhouse. She harvests a few potato plants as she can't resist their subtle, knobbly flesh any longer. Margaret whips them together in a quick potato and carrot stir-fry. She smokes and reads as the day has already passed, and she says goodnight to Leslie before she sleeps. She wakes up to an eerily quiet and dark house on day 119 because the generator is out of fuel. Margaret fills it up and brings light back to the world. Breakfast is, you guessed it, potatoes. Then she jumps in the car that shall not be named and heads down the road to clear out another small neighbourhood. Louisville shall be cleansed, and all the loot will belong to their rightful queen, the Honourable Queen Stump. She toots the glorious honker, and a few stumble from the nearby buildings. She loots and heads back outside to see quite a rather large number of zombies have come to join her. Margaret swings the crowbar until her arm begins to ache, but just as her muscles burn the most, the zombies are finally defeated. Wow, that was quite a difficult battle, wasn't it? Unable to swing anymore, she whips out her new trusty revolver and tries her aim. She's a sure shot. She rests on this chair to replenish her stamina and heads out again. Margaret honks. The zombies come, she kills the zombies. When her arm tires again, she gets out the revolver. She could get used to this new friend of hers. The destruction. It's really not what Margaret had planned for today. It's going to be a nice, relaxing day looting a bunch of empty houses. Seems not to have been the case. As it grows dark, she manages to finally clear the last couple of houses, and she marks them off on her map. Wonder what this place is. Looks intriguing, doesn't it? Oh yes, very intriguing, Margaret. We'll need to take a look, won't we? It's already too late to read when she gets home, so she goes straight to bed. Come on then, Margaret. It's 10 PM. No time to read today. Go to bed with your bugs and sweet Leslie. Day 120 brings even more potatoes for breakfast, and then it's off out to investigate that intriguing place on the map. Ah yes, it's a beacon of the great American tradition, an enormous parking lot. But what else does this place bring? Oh. Now what's that I see? An army bus. Beatrice's military cousin. Bob. As well as Bob, Beatrice's long-lost, unruly cousin sent to join the military, she also finds a working truck. Chapel Mount Downs. Just as she's looting more cars, she sees the horde begin to all head in one direction, not hers, thankfully. One of the fools has bumped into a car alarm and alerted the entire neighborhood. They swarm into the lot. Oh my god. This does buy her a little freedom though, which she uses to get another truck running. It's really coming up Margaret today. The luck of the horses is with her. I think it might just be like a huge apartment complex. Offices or something like that. Margaret hasn't really figured out what the building is. Of course, the horse statue out front doesn't get through to her. In fairness, she does have other things on her mind. And she doesn't realise she's raiding a hippodrome until she figures out the booths offer gamblers. There's a horse statue outside. Nice one, Margaret. The large overgrown racetrack and towering stands for onlookers are another giveaway, of course. Now she knows what the building is, it's hardly worth dying for any loot that might be in there, so she hitches up a trailer she found to the back of the unnameable car and begins the journey home. Of course, this is Margaret Stump, so she is distracted by some more houses she has yet to mark on the map. She is glad she investigated, because she finds an absolutely stacked survivor house at the end of the suburb. Survivor house there, wherever it was, did not make it. With the car full of loot and the night rolling in, she heads home, and on the way fumbles the gear stick. The car clearly does not like the trailer. Eventually it gets going again, and she can return to Fort Stump. Margaret has a little chat with Leslie. Good evening, Leslie. I'd like you to meet Fluffyfoot the bunny. It's almost like he's in the room with her. She is going to replace your bodily functions. Oh, I put her on the floor. Come on, get up. Live with the slugs. Good night, husband. Yes, I know I'm smoking. I quit a long time ago, but it's the apocalypse. There's the apocalypse. Good night, Margaret. On day 121, Margaret plans for a day of calorific relaxation. We must stabilize her weight. She cooks and eats. It's also time to build some more rain collectors. It hasn't rained for days, so the next time it does, she wants to get as much water as she can for her crops and her belly. They are diseased. Unfortunately, her potatoes are diseased, and while she does have some insecticide, it's not enough, so she harvests them before they go rancid. She harvests a whopping 76 potatoes and quickly turns them into another yummy stir-fry. To supplement the potatoes, she goes fishing for the entire day. It's peaceful and serene out on the jetty. She puts both fish she caught in the oven and introduces another duck to the bug council. The second duck joins the council. Don't eat the bugs. There are 3 of you now. I can see you eyeing up those bugs. Then scoffs down a huge fish in the kitchen. Margaret eats one more tiny fish, stuffs her face with candy, and then gets blackout drunk on a bottle of white and a bottle of red. She stands in the middle of the room a little dizzy, then falls on the floor. She struggles to stand up. She's a little less... Oh dear. Oh god. Good night, Leslie, she says, drunkenly. Fall asleep with your bugs, Margaret. The next day, she's feeling a little worse for wear, so she fries a bunch of potatoes in butter. A delicious hangover breakfast. A little wonky-headed, she jumps in the car to clear out more houses in town. Nothing like smashing a zombie to pieces, cure a hangover. She spends the morning looting buildings and killing zombies, her favourite pastime. The slaughter goes on all afternoon until about 7 PM when it begins to get dark again. Not much to report on today, really. This guy looks like a Volvo, right? What could his name be for a Volvo? We already had Vincent. Vincent the Volvo is quite a nice name, but... Whoa, careful, buddy. I know we were talking about you, but... Oh, God. Focus on the road, Margaret. Stop daydreaming. She goes home and reads before bed. Good night, Leslie. Good night, Margaret. On day 123, she heads back to the neighbourhood from the previous day to tick off the last couple of buildings, finds this lovely working car, which she'll be back for, and drives to the next set of houses where there are plenty of zombies to dispatch. There's a rather large house that is completely barricaded and overrun with zombies. She assumes it's another survivor house with no survivors left inside. Margaret fires the revolver into the building. Damn, that feels good. The building is indeed stacked with loot, and she finds a note inside that confirms her suspicions. We're ready. Jackson brought the boys over, cleared out their garages. We've emptied the fridges, covered the windows, barricaded the windows. Ain't nothing getting us in here. Yeah. One of them must have already been dead. Thanks for all the loot, load. Ooh, baby, that's a lot of stuff. She packs the car out with weapons, even shoving some on the back seats, then heads home after clearing a couple more buildings. It's already dark. Time ticks by, and by the time she's emptied the car of loot, it's 10 PM, so she heads up to bed. Say goodnight to your darling husband. Yeah. Yeah. Good night, Margaret. Good morning, Margaret. Another chilly morning, is it? On day 124, Margaret cooks breakfast, then heads immediately out to clear out the rest of that neighbourhood. Sort of like Margaret just heads out to work every day. She's just commuting into Louisville in her banged up little car, slowly over the bodies. Just an ordinary commute over the sea of dead, of course. Oh, you see? That's why you gotta drive slowly, Margaret. She kills, she loots. She realises she has forgotten to empty the car of any loot. Excellent. She stuffs anything she finds into the seats. Margaret is feeling a little depressed again. Who can really blame her? So she does the absolute best thing someone can do when they're feeling glum. There's some comics here. Perhaps those will cheer you up, Margaret. Perfect. Nothing depressing about this situation, just reading a comic, crying into a comic, in a cupboard. She loots until it's dark and then drives home. Margaret reads next to her husband. It's something they used to do a lot of in the old days, and then sleeps. Good night, Margaret. On day 125, she's up early, so does some chores around the house and addresses the bug council once more. And yet another duck joins the fray. Give the same warning as I did the others. Do not eat the bugs. Then she heads out again on another quest. Ah, good. We forgot to take the stuff out of the car seats again, Margaret. Good job. On the way, she hitches a smaller trailer to the back of the car, which seems to agree with our little red friend a bit more. Margaret stops to loot this row of terraced houses. Everything is so tightly packed together she can't quite tell where the zombies are coming from, which is a little unsettling. There's some decent loot in these buildings, mostly more guns and bullets, which Margaret will definitely need. Some marmalade. Marmalade, Margaret. After clearing the row, she drives up the road, tooting the horn, and the zombies descend upon her. The combat drags on well into the evening. Margaret uses a secret weapon. Use this spiffoade. Magic spiffoade to hopefully keep us going for a bit longer. The drink fuels her up with more energy and keeps her fighting until it is so dark she gets out her hand torch. Margaret is getting a little too confident. Calm down, girl, we don't want you dead out here. Get out of here. Eventually she packs it in and does head home. That's a good stump. Margaret retreats immediately to the comfort of her bedroom and the sweet bust of her husband, Leslie. Whoa, stressful day today, Les, I tell you. We killed like 300 zombies, probably. Looting those little houses was horrible. Good night, buddy. Not actually tired yet. Unfortunately, the energy drink has worked too many wonders and Margaret isn't sleepy at all. So she does some push-ups, obviously. Look how strong I am, Leslie. She's still not sleepy, so she just reads. For hours and hours. So she goes downstairs and lights the fire. She reads all the way through until daylight. 28 in the morning, she's still not tired. What did that drink do to her? Magic juice, I should have saved it, really. She uses this surprisingly long day to finally empty the loot from the car. Her gun storage is full, so she builds 2 wooden crates to stuff them inside. Margaret gets sleepy at 10 past 10 in the morning, so she huffs half a jar of coffee. Delicious. Top it all off, now she's got hurty arms and legs because of the push-ups. The great egg in the sky forces her to cut down trees, but she's really hurting quite a lot, so she can't even do that. Okay, I know that aches. The egg is not a cruel master, so Margaret is allowed to take a bath to soothe her aching muscles. The water is cold, but that doesn't matter too much. It's chilly, so she dries off in front of the fire. There could be worse ways to spend a day. To round off this pleasant experience, Margaret grabs some instant popcorn and sticks a VHS in the TV. It's very soothing and she feels her eyes slowly drooping. Fair enough, she must be exhausted. So she staggers upstairs to bed. Good night, Leslie. Good morning, Margaret. On day 127, Margaret cooks breakfast and then heads out in the car. Today she's going to attempt to level up her tailoring, and she does this by ripping all these clothes she handily stripped from a pile of dead zombies a few days ago. Despite all her hard work, it turns out that the backpack Margaret is currently using can't be upgraded, so there goes that idea. She'll need to keep an eye out for better, upgradable backpacks in the future. The day isn't over yet though, so she drives up to the industrial district in the hopes there might be fewer zombies and a couple of spots to loot before it gets dark. She investigates these shipping warehouses and finds some booze and some clothing racks. Nothing special, really. She continues on down towards the killing fields. Several hundred zombies lie rotting in the road, and honks the horn to draw out a few stragglers. More slaughter, because why the hell not? Margaret slices zombies until it's dark, then drives home. She prepares tomorrow's meals now because she wants to get a quick start in the morning, then goes to bed. Good night, Leslie. Good night, Margaret. It is a quick start on day 128. She's up early and out the house to get some good old-fashioned looting done. The streets are covered with a heavy fog, so she doesn't want to venture too far into unknown territory, and just loots another row of terraced houses instead. At midday, she makes her way towards the fire station. She can hear the zombies knocking about inside. Thankfully, there aren't that many. There's some decent loot here which Margaret pockets, including her very first car battery charger, which could definitely come in handy. She kills a few more zombies, loots a couple more houses, and heads home. A pattern is beginning to form in her life. The relentless slaughter and loot gives her purpose. It is her dream to clear every building in Louisville, even if it takes the rest of her life. She's sure eventually the road will come calling again, though. Beatrice is sitting on the driveway, looking a little sad these days. When she gets home, she realises she's left the generator off all day. Thankfully, all the vegetables are still fresh, though the bread has gone a little stale in the fridge. Whoops, silly Margaret. In the end, she does go to bed. Just read half an hour before bed, go to sleep at 10. That calmed you down, stood next to your gorgeous husband. Another duck. There are now more ducks than bugs. The Duck Council. Please don't eat the bugs. On day 129, Margaret repairs her beloved kukri machete with some duct tape. Flawless engineering, Margaret. And then she ventures forth once more. She drives just past the fire station and activates the glorious honker to lure in some dead. When they're dispatched, she turns on the siren to lure even more in. She's like a master zombie fisher lady. Margaret loots the buildings while the siren wails outside, and when she goes out to check what damage she might have caused. Yeah, so there was actually quite a few then. Might be a wise idea just to back off a little bit. Some of the horde follow her up the road, but Margaret is on a one-lady mission to conquer Louisville. Some skulls are gonna have to get cracked. And Margaret kills them all, even testing out her Headhunter M14 rifle. Which is okay, it's a bit slow to fire. With that group cleared, she heads back to the police car and draws the other half away with her revolver. She's an experienced zombie slayer now. This is all just part of her normal routine. After that massacre, it's time for another zombie death tally. Margaret feels like a cowboy. 6,598 zombies killed. She loots a few more buildings while the siren wails outside, kills the stragglers, and eventually wraps up the day with a drive home in the dark. If all of Louisville is like this, and presumably much worse the closer she gets to the city centre, Margaret may end up killing 40,000 zombies. I wonder if she'll make it that far. If the egg wills it, it shall be so. All the killing has sent Margaret a little loopy, or is this just a constant state she's in? Two more ducks everywhere. They're going to take over the world. Margaret and her ducks. Margaret loves ducks. Have a can of sardines before we go to bed, I think, Margaret. She stands at the bottom of the stairs and eats a can of sardines in the dark, like a little gremlin, and then goes to bed. Do need some more decorations. We also need to fill this window in, really. Right, it's 10:30. Good night, Margaret. Not much happens on day 130. She loots these terraced houses. It takes most of the day because of the zombies lingering around, and then loots this gas station. Then has a delightful dinner when she gets home. Bean, carrot and cheese sandwich. Bean, carrot and cheese, Margaret. What a delectable cuisine. On day 131, she has another delectable breakfast of bean sandwich, then heads out to loot this gun store. The place is stacked with loot, and it takes all day to loot the bullets and guns. She also checks out these apartments briefly, but moves on swiftly. Anything inside isn't worth nasty corridors and lurking zombies. On day 132, it finally starts to rain, which is great for her cabbages. The day is full of chores, simple ones, which are the sort of days Margaret feels safest. But the worms in the cupboard. For dinner, Margaret makes toast. She didn't even know you could make toast. Her life has been changed forever. The ducks watch greedily from the table. Day 133 is full of zombie slaughter, then she loots this enormous shipping warehouse. This also takes the entire day. She doesn't really want to leave anything behind. When she gets home, she cooks another fat stew to hopefully plump her up a little bit. Oh. It's a substitution for Pokemans. Day 134 is more household chores. She does another trip to the freight warehouse, which again takes all day. A few brisk days there, as Margaret was a whirlwind of activity, but there isn't much to show really. We'll do a base tour tomorrow so you get an idea of what the place is looking like so far. Good morning, Margaret. How are we on this fine day? Busy few days there. I think it's probably a good idea to do a base tour, but we'll do that when it's light outside so you can actually see what's going on. But this is the kitchen. We've got 3 boxes of jars, which is incredible work, Margaret. We can use that to jar up some vegetables. Here is the gun room. We've got some extra shelving. It's looking fantastic. Through here, we built a workbench. Unfortunately, Margaret decided to put it right in the middle of the garage, and now we can't move it, as far as I'm aware. So, there's that. Here's the living room. Nice and cozy. I really hate this kind of dirty wall stuff, but maybe Margaret can paint that. We do have some paint here in the garage, as you can see. Outside, the trailers. Plenty of rain collectors. I was going to build some stairs here to build like a walkway around. Hopefully set up some plumbing so we can wash our clothes and have some running water in the house, but I accidentally put a rain collector here, and now I need to empty this before I can disassemble it and therefore be able to walk upstairs. Margaret's crops are also doing quite well. She's planted a lot more here. Just get some info. They're diseased. Health stunted. Receding cabbages. Why are you receding? Have a can of carrots for breakfast. Just something simple. With the base tour complete, Margaret has a can of carrots for breakfast, then takes a look at her progress in Louisville so far. Delicious, Margaret. Very delicious. In terms of our progress across Louisville, as you can see, it's going fairly well. We've cleared out really quite a, I mean, there's still so much to do, Margaret, of course, but it's not too bad so far. We're probably going to work our way down towards this first target of ours. This is where Margaret thinks there might be some survivors. Of course, she has not forgotten about Paul. She has been a little bit distracted, but hopefully she can find some sort of life out here in the dead city. Then it's time to head out to clear more blocks and make the city truly hers. Margaret lets rip with the glorious honker and the zombies swarm, so it's time for another quick slaughter. She toots this honker too, and the swarm that grows around her out of the fog is nothing short of terrifying. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of zombies. Margaret's swinging arm is getting a little tired. She's not used to the unwieldy axe. Careful, Margaret. Don't get ahead of yourself. She swaps to her M9 to take out the last zombies in that group. Let's have a cigarette after that mild panic. I want this guy's outfit. Captain Margaret. Now, with her new captain hat, she tries to brave the university dorms, but is met by a shambling wave of stinky death in the corridor. She quickly hops out the window again. Maybe it's not worth death to loot through a bunch of empty cupboards and classrooms. She needs to take a break. Just gonna go rest on this bench for a moment and have a cigarette. Captain Margaret. She fires blindly into the dark, and all she can hear are the soft thuds of the bullets hitting zombie flesh. The zombies just keep coming. I mean, she does love the honker, so perhaps that might be the reason. Ah, the sweet song of an axe hitting zombie flesh. The combat continues into the early evening, and finally, covered in gore, dripping with ooze, layered in a thin film of slime, Margaret decides to call it a day and head home. Pokey pokey stabby stabby. Okay, it's time to go home. What a crazy day, Margaret. 7,228 zombies killed. I think you've earned yourself a little break. When she gets home, she tries out some new looks from her growing collection of new clothes. Then she heads up to bed. Good night, Margaret. See you tomorrow for more slaughter. She wakes up early on day 135 and spends the early hours painting blue skulls all over her house. Margaret. Gone a little bit crazy. When she finally lays down the paintbrush after running rampant with it in the house, she makes breakfast. Some sort of horrifying stew, I imagine. Margaret marks off the university dorms as a nest of the undead, then heads off in another direction. Oh, sweet Alan. Sorry, buddy. You see, one of the problems with Louisville is that zombie migration often fills up areas you've already cleared, Margaret, as you can see here next to the radio station. This is no problem for Margaret the Destroyer, however, as it makes it easier when the zombies shamble in her direction. With baseball bat and pistol, Margaret wipes the zombies out one by one. It is no exaggeration that Margaret kills 200 or 300 zombies here. Each death is the same. She feels nothing. Just know that she has arrived, the Margaret who knocks, the bane of the undead horde. She begins looting buildings just for a little change of pace. For every X on the map, she gets a little closer to ascendancy. First, she must deal with the crippling depression, so she sits in her car and reads a comic to take a little break. She tries to ignore the undead father of 3, keen local model boating enthusiast, and charity marathon runner currently stumbling along the shopfronts in front of her. Looting is broken up with small respite as the voices of the old world echo down to her through the form of scrawled notes and half-finished diaries. Little note here in the bookcase. We'll never make it out of here alive. These are zombies like from the movies. I put my leather jacket on because a human can't bite through leather. Right? Right? She loots just one more building and then can finally place all those important crosses. The crosses are life. Without them, she is no better than the dead. Margaret drives home in the dark. Comic books just don't cut it, so she downs an entire bottle of red wine in her bedroom, clinking the bottle against Leslie's beautiful marble forehead as she does so. Perfect. Right, let's get you off to bed. Good night. She sorts out breakfast on day 137 and waters her crops. Then it's off into the city again to see what awaits. Margaret revisits the university quarter and there's still so many undead shambling around the parking lot. She makes light work of a few of them and then rests. And we'll rest on our favourite little bench again. Find somewhere safer to rest actually up ahead. Rather than tackle the dormitory, she puts it off for another day and instead drives to these smaller, more manageable terraced houses. What was that? While the loot is nothing to go crazy over, she does find a fetching new vintage fur coat. New coat? Lovely, Margaret. Robinson Crusoe audiobook. One of my favourite books growing up as a child. Margaret used to read it a lot as well, seeing as she is just an extension of the egg. Margaret loots for a few hours and then lights the honker signal fires and clears out more waves of the undead. Every block in Louisville will be like this. She will kill tens of thousands or die. There is no other option. Once again, the clearing of dead goes on until the weather turns foul and dark. She gets tired quickly from swinging the baseball bat, and rather than return home, she pushes a set of drawers in front of her bedroom door and nestles down in one of the terraced houses. Margaret grows in confidence day by day. Okay, we've put a barricade up, so hopefully we'll be okay, Margaret. It's not the easiest night's sleep, and she wakes up at 1:30 a.m. Tentatively, she leaves the house, tiptoeing down the stairs like a drunk parent on Christmas Eve, torch in hand, hunting knife in the other. The torchlight flickers on the ruined windows, every shadow is a stumbling zombie, and Margaret feels on edge. She sneaks around until it's daylight again, when she can whip out the old trusty baseball bat. It's the coldest day of the year so far, with temperatures below 30 degrees. The air is crispy, like she can reach out and lick it with her warm tongue. Gross, Margaret. You are a very disgusting lady. Thankfully, she finds a machete lodged in a dead zombie, and this makes the next few hours of zombie slaying much easier, especially for her frigid fingers. Margaret finds a clothes shop and rifles through the railings, then takes a break. Let's take a little rest in the changing room, Margaret. I think we're going to collect some friends now. A couple of pals to take back to the base. Yes, the mannequins are coming home with her. They will be her friends, and she will repopulate the earth with them. No other survivors have made themselves apparent, and Margaret is certain that Paul, that loose link to her fallen husband, is most definitely dead. The weather turns grim during midday. It's bleak and freezing and wet, but Margaret perseveres. She kills many, many zombies in the rain with her machete, then ducks into these small offices next to the clothes shop to take a break out of the rain. Margaret sits on her favourite place in the entire world, a random apocalypse toilet, cold to the touch, never to be sat upon by a warm butt ever again. She almost feels sorry for the toilet, which is a sign that Margaret has truly lost her mind. Next door she finds a small tool shop, which does have some useful bits inside, like nails, screws and whatever else, and then it's time once again to kill zombies. Many of them have gathered in the street, the most she's seen in one place, which means she's getting closer to the centre of the city. She comes to a rather simple conclusion. Might need to be a little more cautious about the old glorious honker now. Margaret kills as many as she can before it is too dark and cold to continue. She drives home in the pouring rain. What's your name? I like your dance moves. That one's just a little creepy, actually, Margaret. Margaret gets her new friends out when she's back at the base. The mannequins tell her to change her clothes, so she does so. She must listen to her new friends. It's really weird how the hood of her fur coat is just poking out the top of the hat. She looks like she's literally got an egg for a head. Can we fix that? There we go. It's better. Say good evening to the bugs and the ducks. You better watch over them, my friend. Oh, I really don't like how that one is lurking in the shadows over there. Oh, we'll do some decoration tomorrow. First, though, let's read with Leslie. How are you doing, Leslie? Yeah? Still made of stone? Ice cold? Just how I like you. Husband. 10 p.m. Okay, good night, Margaret. On day 139, she wakes up with the night terror. It is her punishment for mocking the spirit of her poor, stinky husband, Leslie. Didn't close the gate, Margaret. Always remember to close the gate. She uses the morning hours to unload the trailer of necessary goods. After that, it's time for exercise. The egg commands you to do 1 hour of sit-ups, Margaret. Fully dressed, captain's hat on. Margaret must build her body if she wants to conquer Louisville. It's time for a nice cold bath, a nice cold ice bath, a nice ice bath, because she must also train her mind. Chilly after her frozen bath, she sits by the fire and warms her creaking bones. She's depressed. How can you be depressed? You've got new friends. Look at this gorgeous life that you live, Margaret. Isn't it stunning? She eats to try and combat her growing depression. Margaret's magical stews are extremely happiness-inducing. Then she reads by the warmth of the fire on this snowy day. Nice and peaceful life, Margaret. It's what you've always wanted, isn't it? A wave of creativity hits her, so she does some more painting. She settles on this warming brown for the living room and bleak black for the gun room. Oh yes, you have a fine eye, Margaret. She's also a moron, clearly. What are you doing, Margaret? She can only paint the inside wall from the outside. She lost her mind. Yep, got to do this one too. So she now paint, walk back around, paint. Yep, got to go around. Margaret, you fool. She slept poorly, so rather than attempt anything else for the day, she reads the hours away by the fire, and then reads the hours away by Leslie in the bedroom. Then she heads to bed. She should sleep for a long time. Tomorrow we need to fix this goddamn wall, so that her room isn't so cold. On day 140, Margaret sprints down the street. Don't worry, she's not running from her problems, she's actually on the way to fix them. With her crowbar, she pries out one of the wooden windows from this mansion and takes it back to her bedroom. Nice! We just have a new window now, so it should be warmer in here now. Hopefully, anyway. Finally, the window is fixed and Margaret can sleep snugly and warm at night. Then it's back out to just south of the radio station. More zombies have wandered on over, so it's time to start slicing and dicing again. The slaughter is only punctuated by breaks to loot the pile of corpses and to smoke cheeky little cigarettes in the sea of the undead. There are just more and more zombies. Louisville will take years to clear. Eventually it turns 7 PM and the day's work is done. She's gathered some scrap electronics from digital watches and will now return home to fix up the generator. She doesn't want it to explode and destroy her home, kill all her bugs, and set her new friends on fire. Hello, friends. I'm gonna call this one, Fred. Fred with the sick dance moves, and creepy Joe over there who just lingers in the dark, little shadows. Margaret reads before bed, as is tradition. Nice. Good night, Margaret. On day 141, she prepares for more action by swapping to a new pistol. She loads the magazines in the quiet stillness of the gunroom. Then she makes breakfast and heads out to continue where she left off yesterday. Hello, Alan. Hello, dead bodies. After that chaos, at 10 in the morning, she's already tired, so carries a nice plastic chair into this small bathroom so that she can rest in somewhat comfort. Then more zombies must die. The pile grows. Hello, Alan. It's me again. Just killing zombies. Don't mind me. She retreats again to the toilet and chair to eat and smoke and rest. The honker, oh holy, oh great, must be honked once more. She once again returns to the toilet room and washes the muck from her face. It is a simple routine. She is a killing machine. Margaret is a little peckish, but the great egg shines upon her and delivers this enormous food market. She grazes from the shelves like a cow. When it is dark, she returns to the only place she knows, the toilet. Then we shall sleep on the bountiful chair. On day 142, she sits in the dark and waits for the hours to pass until daybreak, watching the small digital numbers tick over on her watch. She marks the tall buildings as death hives. She will one day return when her combat skills are more refined to clear out those dark and treacherous second floors. Margaret takes a look in these offices, but as expected, there is nothing here of any use. Once again, it is not worth dying over. She clears out the back room of the food market next. Margaret has enough food to feed a village of 1,000 people back at the base, but she must have more. What about her friends? What about her bugs? She is so very alone. Even the car has enough food in it to feed her for several weeks. So much food. Look at it all. She checks out a few cars, nothing special, then takes her car around to this quiet little pocket of houses that she hasn't cleared yet. Margaret came through here a few days ago and already killed most of the zombies, so the houses are easy to clear. Nothing massive in terms of loot to report on. She just enjoys the peaceful exercise of clearing each room one by one. She does find one very lovely thing though. A Venus flytrap. That's fun. Margaret can feed it bugs. Margaret must collect every plant. If she isn't there to look after them, who will? They're the only things left alive in the city, abandoned by their owners and left to wilt in dusty rooms. The thought makes her unbelievably sad. The little cul-de-sac makes her daydream of one day repopulating the houses with her new friends. A snail can live there, a mannequin can live there. When it gets dark, she heads into one of the mansions and finds a secure bedroom that she can call home for the night. Gonna start with some canned tomato for your starter, Margaret. She's eating it with her fork now that she has a fork attached to her belt, like a civilized human being. Then she's gonna have a beer, and she's gonna read a comic, just to keep her mood up, you know. Get that torch on so you can do your word search. You can actually see what you're doing. You can read the words on the page, Margaret. Hi, little angel. On day 143, she marks off some more crosses on her map. It is thrilling to do so, then heads out down the road past the church, cleaning up stragglers as she goes. These turn out not to be stragglers, though, as this is Louisville, and the fighting goes on for the next few hours. When the street is finally clear, she begins clearing out the terraced buildings. Zombies echo around her. It is tightly packed again. There are zombies on the streets, zombies in the buildings, and she must kill them all. As always, she needs a break, so she does, sinking a can of fizzy pop while she's at it. Looting is uneventful, but it takes a long time because Margaret is thorough, and Margaret is careful. She won't die now, not here, not like this. Her story must go on. Excuse me. Where do you think you're going, sir? Oh, don't like these alleyways. Wow, this is intense. Took us all day, basically, to clear this single block. There are 6 of them here, let alone all of the others in Louisville that are like this. Ooh. She drives a short distance up the road, thinking she might be able to clear some more buildings, and yet there are more zombies. This is a massive undertaking. Margaret might have to reassess how many zombies she will have to kill to clear the city. Closer to 100,000, perhaps. She begins the drive home in the dark. Look at all of the zombies you have slain, Margaret. It's so funny how many there are. At home, she begins unloading the trailer. Start with the large plants. They're my favourite things. Venus flytrap will live next to her bed to eat the adventurous bugs trying to crawl into her ears, and she adds more plants to her growing jungle. The Bug Council has now become a collection of Margaret's strangest things. Crossword puzzle, a book, some toilet paper, a pair of underwear, some brick toys, 2 boxes of cereal, substitution doll from the popular hit franchise game Pokemon, a cowboy hat, that's Leslie's hat, some kind of small video game, I think, a rotten watermelon, an empty can, a paintbrush, a Rubik's Cube, and 6 bugs. Fantastic. Come on, it's 11 o'clock. You've stayed up too late, pondering your magical table. Let's get to bed. Good night, Margaret. Tomorrow we get a new car. Upgrade that van. On day 144, she makes a checklist on her map. Get a working truck. Upgrade kitchen storage. Complete brain collect. Second story. Kill everything in Louisville. Nice. Pretty straightforward. Let's work on the working truck first. First on the agenda, the truck. It's not in excellent condition, but Margaret is a skilled mechanic now. She tows it to the gas pump and fills it up. Nice. Our lovely new truck, Zuzu. What a cutie. Does it fit? It does fit, that's good. Margaret eats stale soup, delectable, and then takes the truck out to salvage this ambulance for parts. Then she drives up to the distillery car lot to salvage these vehicles too. She takes the tyres off first, just in case she wants to use them in the future, and then salvages the car. This truck is in quite good condition, so she spares it from the hot flame of the propane torch for another day, another life. She does, however, murder this taxi. While she's here, she saves some more plants from the distillery. Then she heads home to start making repairs to her new truck, fondly named Zuzu. Drink a nice beer after that. Heavy lifting, Margaret. We'll also eat something nice and easy, like loads of sweets. More plants for the jungle. Venus flytrap in the kitchen. Small cactus on the desk. At least take your welder's mask off before you go to bed, Margaret. Good night. First things first, on day 145, she begins doing more repairs on Zuzu. With the inner workings now looking better than ever, she pumps up the tyres and the old girl is ready to rock and roll. Oh, Zuzu, you're looking splendid. On her inaugural outing, Margaret uses Zuzu's massive backside to haul some metal shelves from the distillery. Margaret installs them in the living room for more tinned goods storage and other foodstuffs. With that, she can tick off the first 2 objectives on her map. Just go get our other friend and bring him in here. I can't leave him out here alone. You're a very reliable, trusty vehicle, so you get pride of place inside. Before starting work on the second story extension, she checks on her crops. She's misplaced her watering can, so she uses the cooking pot to water her cabbages and carrots. Margaret makes some rice, and after watching her pour the rice over her head straight from the pot, we write another objective on the map. Get a bowl. Then it's time to begin the manual toil once more, Margaret, as the egg commands it. You need planks for your extension. And she's instantly severely depressed. Don't worry, Margaret, we can cheer you up with some booze. Margaret is absolutely shattered, but the work must go on. She saws logs into planks. The egg watches over her. Eventually, the egg pities her and she drinks some warm beers from the cupboard. What a treat. And reads a comic book in her favourite chair, or thing. As one last treat from the omnipotent egg, she watches a VHS and then heads up to bed relatively early. She is knackered. Say goodnight to Leslie. Give him an exhausted, sloppy kiss. On the morning of day 146, she begins filling out the upper floor of the extension. Then she builds the frames for the walls. Of course, she needs more planks, so she cuts down trees and saws the logs into planks. Margaret cuts, saws, and builds all day long. It's chilly out, but the air is fresh. She can't see any zombies or hear any distant gunfire. It's just her and her hammer. She enjoys the peace. The labour goes on for the whole day, and she stumbles up to bed with sore hands. Nice, that means we need to cut down more trees then. Oops. Careful up there, Margaret. We're going to have to build a fence, aren't we? And we go to sleep again, Margaret. Good night. Day 147 is exactly the same. She works on the floor in the early hours, then starts building a fence to prevent her from tumbling over the edge again. Of course, she cuts down trees and saws logs, and well, you get the picture. We actually rejoin Margaret on day 148 as she heads out to collect garbage bags for rain collectors to install on the new extension. She loots a few bins, then spends a couple of hours foraging in the cold woods for any scraps. Miraculously, she finds 3 bright red fresh apples in the woods, a sign from the egg overlords, I think. When she gets home, she also places down a freezer she yoinked from the shop up the road and harvests her crops now that there is room to keep them safe and rot-free. Then she finally builds the rain collectors on the roof and plums in the washer-dryer. Of course, she'll need it to rain first, but it's a good start. It's really coming together nicely, Margaret. There's just one more job she needs to do, and that's grab some of the windows from the other mansions down the road. She realises she can't install the windows properly, something to do with the weird angles, and she'll have to do it from the outside. Margaret will start work on a walkway all around the exterior of the building, but she must be careful. Oh. You gotta stop falling off the roof, Margaret. Eventually, it's time to sleep, and it's been another busy day, and Margaret is getting a little restless wandering around the house day after day. Nice. On day 149, she begins making preparations for a larger excursion into the centre of Louisville, alongside Zuzu, her new van. Get our survival gear ready. Of course, she keeps 2 sticks of butter in her survival vest at all times. This is Margaret Stump, the butter lover, the butter eater, the butter mother. Alright, time to take Zuzu out on her first expedition into the city, I believe. Before she can head out, though, she needs to clear all the crap out of the van and its trailer, which takes a whopping 3 whole hours, and eventually at 10 AM, Margaret and Zuzu head out into the city. Margaret is excited. She must kill. First stop is the medical centre, but there's nothing here that interests our Lady Margaret. She has no intention of getting hurt anytime soon and has plenty of medical supplies at the base. And so it's time to test out Zuzu's gorgeous little honker. It works as expected. In truth, Margaret kills around 500 to 600 zombies over the next few days, and of course the egg can't show you every kill. Just imagine Margaret completely gore-spattered, wielding a crowbar, machete, sawn-off shotgun, and an M14 to completely decimate a single street of normal population Louisville. I will show you some of the kills, of course. Margaret just goes around honking her darn horn and has fun shooting these zombies behind the fence. When it's night time and Margaret sorely needs a rest, she heads down to a row of terraced houses that have remained uncrossed on her map. They are filthy little houses unmarked by her beautiful pen and the bountiful crosses, so she must loot them. In the first house, she kills this poor fella, then drags his stinky rotten corpse into the hallway so she doesn't have to sleep next to it. Just move that disgusting dead body out of my bedroom. She smokes and sleeps and wakes up at a blisteringly early and freezingly chilly 1:30 AM. Margaret is a strong little lady though, and she just wanders out into the street with a hand torch. Thankfully the moon is up and clear and the streets of Louisville are bathed in its pearly moony light. Margaret begins looting the other buildings, and it is a little spooky, but by now she is a seasoned looter. There are no goosebumps on her arms, she is cool and calm and collected. However, she would like a moment just to let the sun come up a little. She does what she does best. Going to sit on the ground and worship the toilet. Just simply too dark. There we go. How did you enjoy sitting in the silence in the dark watching your toilet? Another machete. Love it. Thank you. Louisville is just the gift that keeps on giving. Keep that machete in mind. It's going to play an important role in the coming days. She finishes looting the terraced houses at 12:30, then hops over the fence to check out this large building. It's a school, and there's nothing here that really interests Margaret. These types of buildings are the ones that she will probably just burn to the ground when she eventually leaves Louisville, just to eat up any last zombies lingering in there. And so Margaret drives Zuzu along the deserted street and honks the glorious honker to draw out more shambling undead from their dark little caves. Do. Margaret kills everything in Louisville. She kills zombies for 4 hours, then rests. Margaret kills more zombies, then heads back to the building to sleep. This is the pattern that she observes, this killer of ours, the liberator of Louisville. Rather not be fighting this slot in the morning, but here we go. Okay. Margaret slays to the sweet blues until it's daylight again, and she swaps to her sawn-off shotgun to start clearing the streets. The battle is long and bloody. She didn't actually bring many shotgun shells at all, so she rests and goes again, working her way back to Zuzu to eat from her backside a delicious canned good. Came here to kick ass and drink orange soda. And I'm all out of soda now because I just drank it all. She blasts the honker. Oh boy. Here we go, Margaret. Margaret's just screaming her head off. I want to kill you all. Oh. Okay, here's Louisville then. Oh my god, okay. Whoa. Oh boy. Okay. She kills hundreds of zombies. You can see their bodies piling up in the street. She's really glad she found this machete because it makes short work of the horde. When she's killed all that, she jumps in Zuzu and decides to swing back down the road. She's a bit peckish and a little exhausted. She eats a cheese sandwich in a cold bedroom and spends the evening reloading and emptying her gun over and over again in the dark like a psychopath. Cheese and peanut butter sandwich. What a way to start the day, Margaret. The kills just go on and on. Margaret swaps to her M14, which she decides is her new favourite toy. At short range, it's usually a one-shot kill as she levels up her aiming bit by bit. Wow, Margaret. How many do you think we're on? 8,944. Means we've killed around 300 or 400 zombies on this one street. And they just keep coming. Ugh, she's feeling queasy. I think it's time for us to go home. I think she's killed too many corpses and now she's starting to feel a little sick. I was just about to feed her a stick of butter, but perhaps that's not the best idea. Let's head home, shall we, Margaret? That's enough for now. Margaret eventually needs to pack it in because she's out of bullets, her machete is shattered to pieces, her crowbar is all bent out of shape, and she's starting to get corpse sickness from all the dead bodies. She heads home in Zuzu. Margaret absolutely stinks, by the way. The first thing she does when she gets home is eat an entire stick of butter, half in celebration for her zombie-killing antics and half because she's burned a lot of calories over the past couple of days. Oh, and she just loves butter, our little Lady Stump. She waters her crops. She found her watering can, by the way, and does some decoration around the house. It's also time to dress up Creepy Joe. Oh god. Sure, nice, a lovely life-size Spiffo doll. I wonder what Margaret will do with that. And Fred, of course. We should give Fred a lovely fedora also. Oh, lovely. She's feeling a little sad after all that slaughter, and she never had corpse sickness before, where the stench of the dead is just so overwhelming and disgusting. So, I think we can just get some sleep now, Margaret. Your lovely home. Good night. Good morning, Margaret. 3:30 in the morning. I think after all of that chaos, it's... Good morning. Oh, good morning, Creepy Joe. After all that chaos, I think it's a good idea to just relax for a couple of days. And by relax, I mean intense physical labour for 5 days. Sorry, Margaret, you've got to do what you've got to do to turn Fort Stump into a true fortress. First, she has to cut down trees until she's totally exhausted. Then she saws the logs into planks and begins work on the exterior walkway around the house. You've seen this all before, of course. It's a simple sort of work, but Margaret does keep falling off the roof. Careful, Margaret. Just fell off again. I think she's okay, though. This is fine, really, until... Oh, critical damage. Severe injuries. Okay, let's just calm down. Imagine if that's how she died after all this. Calm down and have another stick of butter. Turns out falling off a walkway with double your body weight of planks in your backpack can cause severe damage. We've got to take it easy for a couple of hours. She's sleepy at 2 PM because of all the hard work, so she takes the sledgehammer to the upstairs room to clear out some of the open plan space for future storage and decorations. In the evening, she reads and then heads to bed when she's ridiculously tired. 86. Uh-oh. Margaret's a little bit plump now. That's okay. She's hibernating right now. On day 153, it's more of the same. Just more work on the walkway and a book before bed. Day 154 is, you guessed it, more of the same, though this time she also tidies up the rotten vegetables from her farm plots, builds a composter for future rotten veggies, and then works on the walkway, chops down trees, checks on her fish traps, and once again reads before bed. Ah, the peaceful life, Margaret. On day 155, more of the same. During all this, and because she ate 2 sticks of butter, Margaret has become overweight, so now she can only eat tiny nibbles of cereal until her health balances out. Here for your daily allowance of a little nibble of cereal, Margaret, whilst we wait for your health to go down. You're currently at a massive 87. Nice. It's starting to look like a real fort in here, Margaret. I love it. Finally, the walkway is complete after hours of work, with the final fence in place. Ah, nice work, Margaret. You're done. The walkway is now fully functional all the way around the house. Then she starts knocking out the roof tiles on the front of the building to make it look a little prettier. To wrap up day 155, she pickles some cabbages. They were turning stale in the freezer and will last longer this way. Delicious jars of cabbage. Well, they look fantastic, don't they? They look a little gross, but Margaret's sure they will be delicious if she ever needs to eat them, perhaps several years in the future when all of the food from Louisville is exhausted. Okay, it's late and she's tired, so head back to sleep. Day 156 brings organisation. She moves a bunch of stuff out of Beatrice into the house. A thick snow has begun to fall and the weather is the coldest it's been so far, with temperatures touching 20 degrees. A little of the snow even settles on the ground. She decides it's probably a good idea to grab some more fuel, so she fills up the cans at the gas station. There's a surprise waiting for her when she gets home. What the hell? Creepy Joe, why are you in the garden? Did she leave Creepy Joe on the driveway? She can't remember. Is she going mad? Just a little bit unsettling. Let's take you back inside. You stay right there. She carries the mannequin back inside and tries to forget about it. The lifeless eyes of Spiffo will fill her nightmares regardless. Margaret reads the final carpentry book to boost her towards level 10, and then falls asleep. Good night, Margaret. Spiffo dreams. On day 157, her weight is finally decreasing, but she's also starving, so we feed her a couple of carrots. She does some organisation around the base, mostly clearing out Zuzu and the trailer, and when that's done, it's time to hit the city again. Margaret is still a little plump, so today she opts for the M14 to take care of her foes. last, the zombies are dead and Margaret can loot the radio station, focus on key things like plants and this radio that has the emergency broadcast station tuned in. She loads up the trailer, then heads to bed in one of the terraced houses. Margaret is feeling depressed, probably because we've been starving her for a few days, and the word searches and crosswords don't do much to alleviate the crushing sadness she's feeling. No surprises there, really. What do words matter in a world when no one says anything? On the morning of day 158, she wakes up at 3:30 and does some more crosswords in the dark room. At 5-ish, she hops back in Zuzu and toots the horn to lure more zombies out of their shadowy holes. After killing dozens more zombies, she begins looting these terraced houses again. There isn't much to report on here, but she has started collecting rotten fruits and vegetables to take home for her composter. She enjoys stuffing their mouldy flesh into her backpack. She marks the houses off on her map. Beautiful crosses. Margaret loots the next set of buildings and marks them on her map as well, then jumps in Zuzu to head home and unload her goodies. Nice, our weight's down to 85 again. Killed 9,205 zombies, Margaret. My goodness me. Thankfully, when she gets home, Creepy Joe is not lingering on the driveway. Hello, friends. Hello, Creepy Joe. Hello, Fred. We'll sort all our loot out tomorrow. Good night, Margaret. My sweet. The morning of day 159 is all about unloading the van and decorating her home. Then she makes more plans, as well as provides a brief recap and overview of everything she's achieved so far. I mean, clearing out all of these, oh my goodness me. Okay, that's going to take another 300 days, I think, but it's all alive out there. No, probably not. I kind of want to clear essentially this section off in our first 100 days, and then it will take another 100 days and another 100, 200 days. I mean, this is the mall as well, I presume, which could take 100 days by itself, to be honest. First things first, though, she has a little decoration to do. Let's give Leslie a microphone and see if he can talk. Hello, Leslie, can you hear me? Nothing. Stony silence. We'll leave the microphone there recording, just in case Leslie whispers something. We'll hook it up to a recording device. Also, maybe Margaret will just record herself sleeping. Yes. So weird, there's just one patch of snow. Kind of looks like a big puddle of milk, Margaret. Margaret does love milk. She's actually looking for milk. Rotten milk. Oh, careful, Zuzu. She's actually looking for rotten milk because you can use rotten milk to make insecticide. So that's something to keep in mind, actually. That we are looking for rotten milk. Oh, look. More milk. Right, focus on the road. So off she heads into the city again, armed with her headhunter rifle. Hello, Alan. Yeah, should be very quiet. Can't see any other zombies. She murders zombies all day until about 6 PM. Hello, mister. Who are you? A giant lollipop. Oh, God. Eventually, slaughter complete, she finds somewhere to settle down for the evening. Have some cereal and read a book. Just to keep your happiness up. Nice. 8 PM. It's a little bit early, but that's okay. Good night, Margaret. Unfortunately, she wakes up with a night terror on day 160. So she drinks a bottle of bourbon to try and help her sleep. It doesn't make her tired, though, and now she's just drunk. She does word searches until she's sleepy again. Once it's light out after that quick nap, Margaret begins another day's work of clearing Louisville, street by violent street. There are far too many to kill with her machete. Her arm is already sore. She begins the slow, calm walk back to Zuzu through the undead. Walk through the zombies, just blend in. Oh boy. She collects herself and reloads the M14 magazines in an empty car park. By the time she's reloaded all the mags, it's already 6 PM. And as she drives back through the streets, she's realised that she's drawn many zombies back into areas she has already cleared. They make their slow, inevitable march towards her, and she has to fall back into safer territory. Try again tomorrow. Margaret is clearly in a panicked state. Oh! Careful, Margaret. These houses should be safe. She spends the nighttime hours loading and reloading her rifle. This is her rifle. There are many like it, but this one is hers. Early on day 161, she heads out while it's still dark to see the damage she's caused by honking the honker. She drives up to the ambulance and turns the siren on in hopes that it lures some of the group to a wider space where it's easier to fight. Margaret circles in Zuzu while the sun comes up, careful not to stay still for too long. Ah yes, here they are. Hello everybody. My name's Margaret Stump. It's very nice to meet you. Margaret fires on the horde, and when they get too close, she hops over this fence and blasts them through the metal rungs. She pokes the zombies that are close to the fence with her trusty hunting knife. Margs finishes off the group, then turns off the siren so she can hear herself think. Peace and quiet. That was hardly a quarter of the zombies she had seen the day prior. Where are they all? She reloads the mags and starts honking again. Margaret lures them up the road with the honker, splitting the horde in two. She jumps out, turns on the siren, and then repeats the fence trick. She's getting real good at this zombie killing thing. How many kills are we on now? 9,596. Nice. I mean, since we last checked, which is just a few days ago, we've killed about 500 zombies, which you can probably see from the absolute chaos. She clears out the zombies outside the Performing Arts Centre and heads inside to take a look. You gonna sing us a song, Margaret? None. She doesn't really feel like it right now because she is currently severely depressed. The building is dark and looming and it smells musty like a museum. After those long couple of days, Margaret decides to head home and compose herself before beginning her Christmas slaughter. Just a few days until Christmas Day now, Margaret. I wonder what our special event will be. Home sweet Fort Stump. Every time I pull in, I always think that the workbench in the garage is a person. But Creepy Joe is not out here today either. So that's quite nice. It's the building up to Christmas now, Margaret. It's the 19th of December. Christmas in 4 days. 5 days. I think we'll get drunk a little bit early, prematurely today. Hello, Creepy Joe. Haven't moved, have you? No, he's exactly where he was. Okay. Let's guzzle this wine. Hopefully that cheers us up. I know what we can do for you, Margaret. No, I think we should just try and sleep. And that should solve it. We should save that magazine for a particularly miserable day, Margaret, and I don't think that's today. We've had a pretty good run. Everyone gets sad at Christmas, Margaret. That's just how it works. Okay. Good night. On the morning of day 162, she listens to the emergency broadcast for the first time. Expecting light to moderate rain. It gives her some hope that there are survivors out there, somewhere, talking into space. Periodical cloudy spells. Activity in Sector 13. What does that mean? Margaret unloads the truck and does some farming. Her broccoli are now bearing seeds and she stuffs the 30-odd veggies into the freezer outside. She decorates her extension with some plants and some new carpet, and then heads out once more into the dead city. She shoots and shouts, and as she backpedals firing into the crowd, the numbers grow. Oh my god, that's a lot of zombies. Oh my god. And grow. There are so many zombies. Where have they been hiding this whole time? Louisville has just become 10 times more dangerous. Rather than get stuck into a fight she can't win, she loops around the front of the bowling alley trying to escape the horde. Margaret dips into this building to rest away some of the fatigue, then slams her way up the road with her trusty crowbar until she reaches Zuzu, where she can reload the M14 magazines. It takes a couple of hours to reload them all, she's still pretty slow at it, and somehow it's dark when she finishes. Zombies start bashing on the van's windows, and it's time to move. Ugh. They're infecting places I've already cleared. Look, they're all lingering over Alan. The battle for Louisville really is a long one. Sorry, Alan. See you later, buddy. Margaret leaves the siren on in the police car to try and split the horde and decides she should head home. She needs to be more prepared for the hellish city. Ooh, almost a stressful day there, Margaret. That was the largest group of zombies we've seen so far. It's the glorious honker once again. Let's get some sleep. Good night, Margaret. Despite the horde of undead just a mile away, Margaret still has time to populate her safe house with new friends on the next morning. Nice, we've got some new friends to join us. Who have we got? Oh, we got a very lovely lady here, Margaret. Let's call her Vanessa. Oh, we've got Fred's twin. We'll get you to live upstairs. Oh, Vanessa, that's lovely hair. Wow, you look fantastic, Vanessa. Very stylish indeed. Oh, baby. Margaret's gonna have a big bang for Christmas, I think. 160 more rounds, 2 Molotov cocktails, a pipe bomb, a sawn-off shotgun, and some food. I wonder what Margaret's planning. Margaret is ready for war. She jumps in Zuzu and drives once more into Louisville. How many did that lure in then? Just a few, not too many. It's nice. Zuzu's got her first little taste of blood. Look, it's smeared across her face. Hey, leave that jukebox alone. What did it ever do to you? It's time to really unleash the glorious honker. She jumps out, shoots a few Zeds, and then hops back in the van, engine still running, and when they get too close, she honks more. Oh, the honker. The chaos continues. More slaughter, then back in Zuzu to drag the zombies kicking and biting from the buildings with the magical honker. Oh my god. Oh. What the hell? She has resisted using fire until this point. She wanted to preserve the realness of the city with some vague hope that one day humans might return to its ruined streets. But that's just too many damn zombies. She hops out of the van and throws her first Molotov cocktail. It shatters into a fiery, glassy explosion on the street. Oh, here we go. Little Christmas show as Louisville burns to the ground. Margaret drives in loops around the food market, drawing the inferno of zombies inside the building, then back out, then back inside, creating a volcano of rotten, burned flesh. Oh my goodness me, okay. I will just let this chaos play out for you. It's soothing to watch. Margaret sniffs the acrid air. Oh, beautiful burning flesh. Cleanse the city, Margaret. Burn them all. For Leslie. Oh man, the food market's gonna burn to the ground. And so Margaret and Zuzu do their Christmas dance around a burning food market full with a horde of screeching undead. Oh, they're all in this building. I see. Oh my god. She loops and drives past the apartment building again, which seems to be where every zombie in Louisville was hiding. Oh. This does not give her hope for clearing out the rest of the city. It seems like the only option for the future will be flames. A lot of flames. Wow, there must be so many of them burning in that building. Margaret is filled with an immense feeling of calm. This is what living is all about. Leslie would be proud of her. If there is anyone out there, she is doing this for them, and even if everyone else is dead, she is doing it for herself, and because she is growing to enjoy the stench of crackling flesh. Oh my god, there are so many in that building. They just keep pouring out. That's where everyone's been hiding. I thought it was very quiet in Louisville. They're all in this one goddamn building. Oh my god, look at it. It's so funny. She honks the glorious honker and circles the building a few more times, watching the food market slowly burn to the ground. Eventually it has grown dark and she is drowsy at the wheel. The last thing she wants to do now is get roasted alongside her zombie foes. It's time to head home, Margaret. Good job today. Okay then. I guess it's just time to head home. See what happens to Louisville whilst I'm sleeping. I'm a little scared to check. My God, Margaret, it's a shame we don't have fire kills turned on. I can't believe how many were in that building. Did you see them pouring out of the doors and windows? That makes me very, very nervous. All of the zombies in Louisville basically spawned in that building. I wondered why the streets had been so quiet before. Oh, okay, let's go home, Margaret. It's almost Christmas. Big Christmas zombie barbecue. One of my favourite activities in the festive period. Well then, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it, Margaret? I'm going to leave that to just roast. Simmer for a couple of days there. We're going to use that time to get some lights for the outside of the house, I think. Is try and look for another generator. Come on, it's 10 PM. You're already knackered. Have a cigarette, another cigarette before bed. You earned it today. No idea how many zombies we killed, but I think we can hit 10,000 before Christmas. Okay, good night, Margaret. On day 164, she wants to head out immediately to see the chaos she has caused in the city. 22nd of December. Almost Christmas. I think we'll have a chill couple of days for Christmas. How about that, Margaret? Let's go and see what we've caused in the city. I hope it's not all burned to the ground. I'm not sure if zombies burn off camera or whether they are stuck in limbo, but let's find out, shall we? Oh God, what are we going to find down here? God, there's still so many zombies here. Ah, yes. Okay then. It's still burning. Oh my God. As expected, it is a nightmarish scene. The food market is still burning full with a churning grinder of flaming zombie flesh. She honks the horn to draw in more from nearby. There's a good Zuzu. Hello. Yes. I guess we just loop until they all burn. I suppose. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh God. Okay, careful, careful, careful. Let's loop around. Oh God, they're going to set the church on fire. That can't be a good omen. The zombie inferno waddles up the street directly towards the church. If Margaret isn't careful, she'll set all of Louisville ablaze. This is getting a little bashed up. Oh no, the church is going to be on fire now, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. Oh my God, there's still more of them. She heads down the road a little more to draw out some zombies from the apartment block of doom. There are still hundreds of zombies inside. Oh my God. There's just so many in there. Thousands and thousands of zombies. Oh. Oh. Okay, yeah, skirt around them. This is the most zombies Margaret has ever seen in one place. The flesh is making her a little dizzy. She continues looping Zuzu around the flaming pack and decides that the only answer to this problem is more fire. She drives home and grabs more Molotovs. Running along with the Molotov cocktail in her hand. Be careful, Margaret, would you please? Oh dear, Zuzu. Don't worry, we'll fix your face up when we have a chance. Maybe it's not a good idea to smoke a cigarette right now, Margaret, considering you have a Molotov cocktail, 3 Molotov cocktails in your lap. Margaret jumps out, which is obviously quite a poor decision. Sorry about this, Zuzu. Oh no. The truck is compromised. I'm sorry, Zuzu. Oh no, Zuzu. Zuzu's engine is still purring, which means the flaming horde gathers around her. Zuzu, no. We're going to have to proceed on foot for now, Margaret. Margaret gathers more zombies up, hops over the trusty fence, fires her M14 a few times, and generally takes pot shots into the flaming crowd. Get away from my truck. In an attempt to get back to her friend, Margaret turns the siren on again in the trusty ambulance. She loops around, snacking calmly on some cereal, of course, and rejoins her trusty steed. Okay, coast is clear. Go, go, go. She gathers up an even larger horde. Somehow, from somewhere, the zombies keep pouring in and leads them up the street, trying to catch them all on fire. Eventually, night begins to fall, and Margaret has made a dent on the zombie population of Louisville, but there are still so many. Ah, burning spiffos. Nothing quite symbolises the end of the world like a burning spiffos. Right. get out of here. It's time to head home. Let's close that gate, shall we? So we at least feel somewhat safe in here. She crafts more Molotov cocktails. Fred, the mannequin, watches and whispers, "Burn them all, Margaret. Burn them all." Margaret also checks out Zuzu, and she doesn't want the van to fail in the middle of a horde. Then she reads before bed, watching the snow fall softly outside. She can, if she tries very hard, imagine that there aren't 2,000 zombies on fire just a mile away. Margaret begins day 166 fixing up Zuzu and admiring all the snow. "The world is covered in milk, Margaret. Look at all of the milk." Okay. Once again, her Christmas activities consist of driving around in a circle, caressing Zuzu's glorious honker and watching the dead shuffle over the milky snow. Oh. Oh. Oh boy. Okay. Go, Zuzu, go. She drives deeper into Louisville by accident. The snow coverage has made it a little trickier to know where she is. More zombies crawl out of buildings and through windows. I don't even know where I am. Driven too deep. Margaret eventually finds her way back to the parking lot, but when she tries to turn the ambulance siren on, nothing happens. The battery must be dead. She hops out and begins firing her M14 and looping them around the large empty space. When they get too close, she hops over the fence. She also throws another Molotov for good crispy zombies. She walks in circles around the lot, listening to the zombies crackle and burn. Margaret is immensely calm. Burn! Margaret finishes off the last zombies in that horde with her M14, then slams 3 cans of cold chili straight from Zuzu's backside. She reloads all of the M14 magazines. Yes, it takes 2 hours again, but eventually Margaret will get faster at it. It's cold out and her fingers are stiff from pulling the freezing metal trigger. Give her a break. Oh dear, Margaret, your beautiful city has been destroyed. It seems to be a little quieter now though, which is quite nice. Oh, never mind. Here they all are. All good. Yes, there are always more zombies in Louisville. She honks the honker and gathers them up, like a shepherd for the devil. It is, however, a little late, and it's Christmas, so Margaret decides to head home instead. Oh, wow. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, Margaret. Hope you've been enjoying your festive holidays so far. I think we should take 2 days off for Christmas, really, shouldn't we? Maybe we'll make a pie. How about that? Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we hit our official 10,000 before Christmas, but that's okay, Margaret. I feel like the fire counts for many, many, many. Right. To celebrate the holidays, Margaret gets dressed up in her finest, comfiest, silliest little outfit, reindeer antlers included. Should we get you a drink as well? I think you've earned a beer. Enjoy. Enjoy, Margaret. Enjoy. How do you think I look, Leslie? I think I'll give myself a little Christmas haircut as well, actually. Good night. See you on Christmas Eve, Margaret. Good night. On the morning of Christmas Eve, day 166, Margaret smokes a cigarette on her porch, listening to the dead world, muffled even further by the snow. She wants to freshen up a little, so she gives herself a new Christmas haircut. Her hair was getting a little long. Oh, look at that. You're so cute, Margaret. But you're... nice. And, seeing as it's Christmas, she wants a little pleasure. A delicious vegetable pie, filled with her very own grown vegetables. What a life, Margaret. In all this destruction and death, you have found peace here in Louisville, of all places. Whether there are any survivors or not, you are still alive, and that's all that matters. Nice, we can have a vegetable pie, Margaret, with your very own grown broccoli. She eats half the pie in her favourite chair. And yes, seeing as it is Christmas, Margaret is also going to make some bread, and then stuff everything into her gob without leaving her chair. Margaret lights the fire to make it more cosy, and then a thought strikes her. Maybe there's a Christmas message on the radio? Someone out there maybe to say Happy Christmas to? Or is Margaret going to spend her time alone? Unfortunately, there is no one on the other end. She is totally alone. And yet, that doesn't make her feel too sad. She is still breathing, the pie is settling nicely in her stomach, and it's warm and smells like wood smoke in the mansion. Margaret is wearing comfortable clothes with a cupboard full of beer and food. She could be one of them, shambling, mindless in the cold. That, at least, is something to be thankful for. Like the festivities of old, Margaret spends most of the afternoon cooking and eating. Eat a honey sandwich as well, because why not? She reads until she gets hungry, and she's going to drink several bottles of wine, I think. It's Christmas, so red wine is really the way forth, isn't it, Margaret? And of course it is Christmas, so she gets blackout drunk on red wine. The pile of bottles just grows around her chair. She just lies down on the floor in front of the fire. It's quite nice down there. Her hand hovers over the bottle of bleach, but she decides to eat a candy cane instead. It is Christmas. Okay, let's stumble up to bed. It's only 8 PM, but she's knackered. Oh! Creepy Joe. What are you doing in my bedroom? Would you like to join me on the bed, Creepy Joe? No. You stay right where you are. Some comfort, Creepy Joe, actually having you here. Soft orange flesh on a lonely Christmas Eve. Good night, Creepy Joe. She woke up with a night terror on the morning of Christmas Day. Creepy Joe has been lingering over her all the night, of course. Delicious marmalade sandwich to get us started, I think, Margaret. Margarine and ketchup. Yes. Delicious. What a way to start the day. I think she'll also grab a beer. It's Christmas Day after all. She's just gonna get wasted. Margaret's plan for Christmas Day is to get absolutely trolleyed. She starts and finishes her first bottle of red wine at 3:30 in the morning. Go on, gal. She reads furiously in front of the fire. Margaret feels all fuzzy inside. She wishes she could listen to some Christmas music. She always sort of hated it, but would kill 10,000 more zombies to hear one more Christmas jingle. Memories are full of music, and now her memories are empty. To take her mind off morbid Christmas thoughts, she eats some delicious honey pancakes and cooks a massive chocolate pie. It is so good and so sweet. Lovely bits of snow on Christmas Day. It's a white Christmas after all, Margaret. Should we say Merry Christmas to Beatrice? Hello, old girl. How are you doing? She gives Beatrice a little kiss. Or something else. She reads for a while longer and feels immensely sleepy with the fire roaring. Margaret will just take a little nap. She sets the alarm and puts some more fuel on the fire to keep it going while she sleeps. Oh, God, I didn't even see you there, Creepy Joe. What are you doing in here? He's just moving around the house. Okay, let's get some just nap under his gaze. Margaret actually sleeps for much longer than intended. But it's Christmas, so who cares? I set the alarm for the wrong time. Well, Merry Christmas, Margaret. You've just woken up at 1:20. I mean, you know, there are worse ways to spend Christmas Day. Let's eat a cabbage for breakfast on Boxing Day, and then I suppose we should prepare ourselves to head back out into the city again. On day 168, Christmas is over, and it's time for Margaret to make more plans. So this building turns out to be a hellhole. That's where all the zombies came from, was this building here. So there's definitely no survivors in there. I think we've concluded. Margaret gets her gear out of the dryer and dresses for battle in the hallway. She also wants to craft a better weapon, a chain-covered baseball bat, but she needs to get some materials first. Sorry, I'm going to have to rip your clothes off, my friend. Like an animal. Screws or a chain? Chain sounds fun. Oh, look at that weapon. Because she woke up so early, she'll likely get tired early, so we just complete a simple task. Get some outdoor lighting for the fort. She installs it over the water collectors. Then it's time to head out. Somewhere safe, somewhere simple, she thinks. What about the mansion she's already cleared out down the road? Yeah. It's Christmas after all, we don't want Margaret to... Whoa, whoa, whoa. She is clearly hungover, as you can see from her reckless driving there. Some stragglers here wandering up the road. It's no good. A few zombies have wandered up the road towards the fort, so she better take care of them. Except, there are more than just a few. What are they doing so close to my home? She swaps to her new M9 to help clear them up, and then her M14. Oh my god, there's so many. Jeez. How did there end up being this many here? This is my road. This is Margaret Stump's goddamn road. Where did they all come from? Must have been that horde from the horse racing track, I'm guessing. Well, we hit our 10,000 zombies, Margaret. She's a little peckish, so we're just going to pop back to Zuzu and get a snack. And try and round up some of these stragglers. Eventually, the zombie numbers have thinned out and she's tired and hungry. She goes back to Fort Stump with a bit of a sore head. We'll return tomorrow to clean up this mess. Loot these bodies. She's tired and hungover and feeling a little sick. It's not really what she wanted to do on Boxing Day, but here we are. Look at that. 10,106 zombies. 5 months, 20 days and 7 hours survived. Amazing, Margaret. Amazing. What can we read? Metalworking is full. Tailoring. Did we ever find our tailoring book? Don't think we did. In which case, I think we'll do some exercise. Margaret stuffs a couple of granola bars in her gob and gets down to some exercise. Things do not go to plan. 1 hour of sit-ups, please, Margaret. The egg commands you to do the sit-ups. 1 hour of sit-ups. Can you imagine how knackered you'd be? I don't even think I could do like 10 minutes. Oh, I don't even think I could do like 4 minutes of sit-ups, Margaret. But you are of different stock. She enters a strange state and the egg can't stop her. She has been possessed. Oh my god, how do we stop her? God, I think she's stuck. Can't stop. How do we stop her from doing exercise? Margaret, no. She's trapped in an endless loop of exercise. How do we stop her? Margaret, stop! To break the fourth wall here, I had to restart the game. Otherwise, Margaret never would have stopped exercising. Oh god. She's stuck in an endless loop. She's going to exercise herself to death. Oh, okay. Margaret, what came over you? She exercised herself to death. Okay, just go to bed. She did like 3 hours of sit-ups. On day 169, Margaret does have some vague plans to make her way back to the military checkpoint for more guns and ammo. The sheer number of zombies in the apartment block has convinced her to do so. First, though, she wants to make sure that Stump Highway is clear. She doesn't want any zombies to wander over to the fort while she's away. She gets to killing. Let's take a brief rest in here, Margaret. And we head back out again. Margaret the Ruthless, Margaret the Killer, Margaret the Queen of Louisville, our hero. Rest on this office chair. Need to go and rescue my truck. Zuzu, I'm coming back for you. These streets were clear once, Margaret, and now look at them. Covered in zombies again. Oh my god, look at them all. Look at them all you've slaughtered. Yeah, so we're going to make a trip back to the military checkpoint. It's far away. Maybe we take Beatrice. Would you like that, old girl? Would you like to go on another adventure? I think she would. It might be time to roll out On a New Year's adventure in Beatrice once more. Yes, it's time for another adventure. Margaret and Beatrice on the open road again. She charges up Beatrice's flat battery on the charger and in the morning installs it into the old girl. Margaret also repairs the generator before she leaves, as she doesn't want it to explode while she's away. Then it's time to get going. Hello, old girl. Oh, start second time. Feels good to be back, baby. It's pretty cold. Let's get that heater on. Forgot that it's quite busy down here. It'd be a mission for another day to kill all these guys. Margaret arrives at the military checkpoint at dawn and begins looting the various tents for military gear, ammo and guns. It's mostly bits of gear, but she does find a few boxes of ammo here and there. In one of the armory tents, though, she finds something truly special. M16 assault rifle. Oh yes, Margaret. Now that's a pretty find. Nice. Takes the rest of the day to clear out most of the tents, and she returns to Beatrice and fiddles with her new toy. She drinks a beer in the back of the bus for old time's sake. It's just like she's on holiday like her and Leslie used to do in their beloved RV, Rod. She loots more tents on day 171 and empties them of their loot, marking off the individual tents on her map as she goes. As she's here already, she might as well kill some zombies. This is Margaret goddamn Stump we're talking about, the butcher of Louisville. It also seems like a good time to give her new toy a go. Oh yeah. It feels good to hold such a fine piece of human engineering. She hopes to find another, because this one is already half broken. She stashes it in the back of the trailer to save for a rainy, zombie-infested day, likely that apartment block in the city. She kills a few more zombies until it's dark and then falls asleep in the back of Beatrice, warm and cozy, belly full of beer. The adventure will continue tomorrow. And we'll drink a beer. You little soldier, you. A legend, Margaret. A legend. Good night, my love. Good night. On day 172, she's up early and does some exercise. Strong, Margaret, strong. Then it's up and out to explore the campsite. It's a crazy place to put a lamp. And kill zombies, of course. Quite a few then. She kills zombies all morning and into the early afternoon, then drives up the road in Beatrice to the tank. Peaches, some peas, and a lovely can of evaporated milk, Margaret. Your insides are going to be so happy with you. There are more zombies waiting for her, and she kills them all the way until 7 PM. Yeah, no thanks. I'll deal with you tomorrow. It's already 7 o'clock. Then she loads up her handmade magazines in the back of the bus and checks out her new gun. On the morning of day 173, she pushes a little further and opts for a new tactic. How many can old Beatrice kill, do you reckon? I mean, she is an armoured bus. Oh, Beatrice, you are a killing machine. She is thirsty for blood, the old girl. Eventually, though, she takes a little damage and Margaret gets scared, so she hops out with her rifle and then the spear to mop up the rest of the Zeds. My God, Margaret. Just completely unnecessary bloodshed. You just came to look at the industrial buildings here, and you end up killing like 300 zombies. At 3 PM, she takes Beatrice into the parking lot to see what all these zombies had gathered here for. An office block. Brilliant. She'd rather not deal with that today. It's getting on a wee bit, so she parks up down the road. An army of slugs. Look at all those slugs. This is alive, isn't it, Margaret? It's you, Beatrice. A spear? Hordes of the undead? And we'll eat a mac and cheese, I think. Straight from the box, nice and dry. How many kills are we on now? 10,744. Good, good. Day 174 is largely the same. There is a pattern in destruction. She stabbed the zombies with the spear in the daytime and then loop-de-loops them around the car parking lot with her battle rifle. This takes hours. The gun is pretty shit. Margaret thinks. Pretty slow going this, isn't it, Margaret? Not sure I like this rifle that much. Eventually she swaps to her crusty, trusty crowbar. This seems to make things a little easier for the last few zombies. Although her mansion base is stocked with food, she hardly brought any with her. Excellent job, Margaret. So she has to resort to desperate measures. Just gonna have to eat a whole tub of mustard. Sorry, Margaret, that's gonna make you miserable, isn't it? Yeah, she's not enjoying that. Okay, we finally gained entrance to line-by-line design. With the parking lot clear, she is finally free to explore this inspiring office block. Was all the effort worth it? No, of course not. But this is the apocalypse, and there's nothing else to do. Dear boss, go F yourself. Something tells me there's not going to be that much here that's very useful, Margaret. There's a single tea bag in the break room. Fantastic, just fantastic, and Margaret yoinks this plant just so the entire thing has some purpose. She investigates a few cars until it's dark. As she gets back into the bus of Beatrice, the lamp bulb bursts and she's plunged into darkness. It's at this point she looks at her watch and realises it's New Year's Day. What a way to start 1995. Margaret stands in the back of her pitch-black bus, totally alone in the world, and sinks a bottle of chilled white wine. Good night, Margaret. On day 175, she checks out the kitchen depot storeroom place and loots some of the boxes inside. Then she heads to the next building over, kills a few zombies, and heads into the painting and sign shop to find, you guessed it, paintings and signs. She grabs the vintage laundromat sign off the wall because she likes it, as well as Gnome number 2 to add to her collection back at the fort. Despite the fact it's the middle of winter, she heads out to forage, only to realise she's quite unlikely to find anything in this disgusting spit of forest on the edge of an industrial park. She heads down to the proper woods and goes hunting for anything to eat. She settles on a single handful of measly berries. There's no need to be living like this, Margaret, but part of her likes it. It reminds her of the old days with just her and Beatrice, the fresh air, the open road, the stillness of the forest. The berries taste better than anything she's eaten for days. Then it's back to clearing out the industrial park. The place is teeming with the undead, and Margaret doesn't feel like taking the risky front door of this building, so she heads around the back to find another way in. We attempt to pry the door open, but Margaret can't do it. I won't blame her. The egg must make her do more exercise. Instead, she jumps in the bus and parks up somewhere safe, and does some burpees in the dark. On day 176, it's time to just bust that building open. She's curious about what she might find inside. Golf. Margaret hates golf. She loots some of the back room, then yoinks this golf putt from an upstairs office. She might hate golf, but I'll say it again, it's the apocalypse, and even golf is fun in the apocalypse. She loots this metalworking place, and in the Genfac warehouse, she finds some scrumptious bags of sand inside, something for the fort perhaps, and then drives past the dog food factory. No, she isn't that hungry. Not yet. The hunger drives her out of the industrial zone and back into the outskirts of the city, where she finds something very interesting indeed. Holy Haven Cemetery. I have a feeling this might be full of a few zombies. Though it is. Come back for a gravestone for Leslie though, couldn't we? It's a good idea. Oh yes, she'll be back for a gravestone someday, she thinks, as she drives through an affluent suburb of Louisville. She hits the home stretch and makes a route towards home. And home, sweet Fort Stump. Oh! Hello, Creepy Joe. Here to welcome us home, I see. Did you miss us? Margaret says hello to Creepy Joe, who has found himself in the front garden again, then eats some food. 3 warm cabbages. That'll make you feel better, won't it, Margaret? She's filthy after a few days slumming it in Beatrice, so she has a bath. Then it's time for bed, as she is exhausted. She is soaking and very tired. Let's just go straight to sleep with your freshly washed body, Margaret. Good night. When she wakes up, her head is hurting a lot. Uh-oh. Oh no. Margaret got a nasty cold. It's because she had a bath in the winter. Oh, she's really sick. Okay. You know what makes you feel better? 5 cabbages. Ah, the perfect cure to any illness. 5 plump cabbages. She lights a fire, then sits in the hallway, aching all over, and slips the cabbages into her mouth. Wow, she's just sneezing, spluttering, and coughing all over the place. It's already relaxed to the sniffles. Just woke up feeling pretty rough, but it's nothing 15 to 20 cabbages can't fix, Margaret. It appears just eating copious amounts of food in a hot room will sort out a cold. Actually only took 1 day for the cold to go away. She's got a runny nose now, a little bit dribbly, a little bit snotty, a little bit oozy from the nose, but generally fine, I think. Feeling a lot better, she does a bit of decoration around the house. Lovely. Margaret hates golf, but it is the apocalypse and she has nothing else to do. And then it's time to make some plans for the next few days. I think we skirt around this middle hellhole and check out this area up here. I think first things first, though, we're just going to make some repairs to Beatrice. She did get a little beaten up. She does a little work on Beatrice too before their next big adventure. In the evening, after several large bowls of pasta, she washes her clothes in the washer and sits and keeps warm by the fire. Keep you warm whilst your clothes dry, Margaret. Then we'll head up to bed. Once you get fully dressed, of course. Try not to question Margaret's giant orange fluffy tail. She is very lonely. Margaret does a little exercise and then falls asleep on the sofa, where it is nice and warm. Alright, we'll fall asleep on the sofa then, in front of the fire. How's that? We actually rejoin Margaret on day 179 because she spent the last day and a half running down zombies in the street, as you can see from the pile of corpses on the road. Margaret has also stuck her headphones in to block out the world, so there's no game sound for the next couple of days. At times the egg is useless. I apologise. It seems like she might have done too much for old Beatrice though. Oh no, one of my tyres went. Uh-oh. Oh, Beatrice. Back up, back up, back up. That was bound to happen eventually. Oh dear. She parks up the poor old broken bus and proceeds on foot, attacked with a bout of severe depression over Beatrice's missing tyre. Yes. 11,291 zombies killed, not including kills with beautiful Beatrice. Should try and loot some of these buildings now, I think, shouldn't we? She loots a couple of houses, then remembers there's actually a working truck just parked up down the road in perfect condition, full of gas. Her laziness at returning cars to the compound actually works in her favour this time. Margaret loots a few more houses and then finds one to settle down in for the evening. She puts down her plushies on the bed, smokes some cigarettes and reads a comic, all in an attempt to solve her crippling depression. She wakes up very early on the next day, still feeling very sad. Margaret waits for the sun to come through the window before heading out. Margaret loots, marks buildings off on her map, and then takes the truck to the main street to loot the buildings there as well. She does another ketchup run in this burger shop, then checks out the bookshop to find the tailoring book she's been missing. Just up the road, she finds the first pawn shop. She hopes there might be some fun stuff inside, but the front is inaccessible. Margaret checks out upstairs, and... I don't like that. Okay. Whoa, okay. After killing all of the zombies, it's as good a place as any to rest for the night, and she wedges a plastic chair under the door handle to help her sleep more safely. She can hear zombies groaning through the door, and it's no surprise she wakes up early again. She waits out the sunshine on the bed. There's a back door to the pawn shop which she pries open. Ultimately, not that interesting. A couple of machetes, some nails. That's about it, really. Unfortunately, there wasn't that much in the pawn shop, so onward she goes, towards this large church. It gets a little hairy inside. Ugh. Don't like these tight spaces. Oh my god, there's quite a lot of them. Yeah, get me out of there. Margaret drives the truck a little further up the road and there are many, many zombies. Fish and chips. Nice. Fun extreme. Oh boy. Another pawn shop. And too many zombies to deal with. She decides she'll need to return another day. Margaret hooks up Beatrice to the back of the truck and miraculously the little beast is able to tow the bus back home. Do have another new friend though. Absolutely despise your shorts, sir. Nice, we turned you to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Rather than deal with all those zombies right away, Margaret plans to upgrade the fort a little bit. She cuts down trees, saws the logs, and then continues the work on the next morning. With all the planks she needs, she builds a fence around the gatehouse roof. It looks proper now. She does some organisation around the fort. This takes hours and hours, as Margaret just has so much stuff now. Then begins preparing this trailer of doom, packing it with guns and ammo and explosives to tackle the horde of zombies she'd seen in Louisville. On the next morning, she hooks up the truck to the battle trailer and begins the journey into the dead city. She lures the enormous crowd, gathering more and more zombies behind the truck. Margaret doesn't know this part of the city very well, and its tight and twisting alleyways. Things do not go to plan. Oh boy. Oh my god. Oh shit. Okay, stay calm. Stay calm. Oh. Oh god. Phew, that was close. Margaret begins the long dance with the shotgun on foot, taking pot shots and leading the horde to the open ground near the river. At least here she feels a little more secure. The battle begins and continues for the early afternoon, in silence of course. Margaret has plugged her ear holes with chewing gum or something, and she tries to find her way back to where the truck had got stuck. She finds it, but unfortunately she had left the engine running, so there are still too many zombies on top of the truck to rescue it, and the trailer of weapons on the back of course. It's classic Margaret Stump to get all her good weapons and explosives trapped in a sea of the undead. Thankfully though, she did pack 400 shotgun shells in her backpack, so she begins unloading into the crowd, wiggling and weaving through the streets. For every 5 she kills, 5 more appear. It is an unending sea of the dead. It's time to go. Okay, it's gonna get dark soon, Margaret. We should get out of here, shouldn't we? Probably. Don't even know where I am. Oh god, it's gonna get dark. Well, we lost our truck. And the trailer full of all of our ammunition, so at least that's a mission to get. To get back there. One of these houses might be safe to sleep in. Try this one. Check the kitchen for some grub. Quickly, Margaret. Hopefully it's got something to eat in here. Bottle of white wine will do me just fine. Especially after a day like that. How many did we kill? 11,806. Probably about 500 or 600, I think, probably. Still got about 200 shells left, too. Alright, let's get some sleep. Try and get you some food tomorrow. Right, where did we end up then? Okay, so let's get some rest. We'll continue on tomorrow and see if we can rescue our truck somehow. She wakes up early on day 183 and unplugs her ears. Ah, sound again. Margaret waits out the sun. She just stands in the dark room till 6 AM. Let's go. So begins the epic quest to rescue her truck, but first she loots a few buildings on the row. She's here anyway, so why not? She marks them off on her map. Once again, Margaret uses her map to find another car she marked off as running with gas. There's one just down the road in this slot. She takes the new car and drives through the snow-laden chaos. Margaret kills zombies, quietly this time with her machete, and then makes her way down the narrow back alleys of Louisville in the pouring rain. She walks carefully. She doesn't want to get caught in one of these narrow spaces. It is a long, slow, wet battle through the alleyways, but her machete is strong, and it makes short work of the groups of Zeds she finds. Margaret made good progress today, clearing a path to where the truck is still parked, engine running, but it's getting late, and she needs to make a retreat. She falls back to the same row of terraced houses and finds a safe room to sleep in. Let's read this crossword. Looks like you're sleeping in a bunk bed tonight, Margaret. Nothing wrong with that, of course. In the morning of day 184, she stands in the dark room completely still and waits for the sun to come up again. She takes the car up the road and spends the morning killing zombies in the fog. She is, unfortunately, currently overweight. Margaret Plump has returned, which means she loses stamina quicker. But we can rest in this building. Eventually, she needs to take a break. She's currently overweight, oh darling Margaret Plump, and has to rest in this building to regain some stamina. Margaret heads out again in the fog. She doesn't like fighting in this heavy mist, but it has to be done. She parks up in front of the other pawn shop and decides she might as well take a look. The windows are shuttered with metal grates and Margaret stabs the zombies through the front with her knife. Margaret sneaks through the pawn shop and realizes that the back door opens out on where the truck is parked. She can hear its engine through the wall. She pokes her head out to take a look. As expected, there are zombies gathered around the rumbling truck. But this is good. She tries to lure some with her shouts, but they obviously can't hear her over the engine. So she loots a bit of the pawn shop and takes a look out back again. She must be careful here. It's a tight spot. One mistake, she's toast. Risky business, Margaret. At last, she is reunited with her battle wagon. She unloads the trunk of her other car into the trailer and leaves the red one where it is. She might need it again at some point, so better here than at home. Another fallen survivor. Is that Paul, perhaps? Could be. She kills zombies, loots this small mart, and investigates the cinema. When it gets dark, she heads back down the road to find another place to call it a night. On day 185 in the early morning, she checks out the fitness center and grabs the fitness machines from inside. They can go in her home gym. She also checks out this hardware shop and tries to check out Fun Extreme, but there are many zombies. And she gets tired out killing them all. Thankfully, there's an empty office with one of her favourite spots inside. Find a secret spot to rest in, Margaret. Oh, perfect, your dream location. Right then, let's check out Fun Extreme. What have we got then? More golf, mini golf. Few zombies on the course. It's like airsoft or paintball, I think. Whatever it is not a fun place to fight. More bowling. Little arcade here. Gotta be careful on that slippy floor, Margaret. Don't want to fall over. She decides to yoink these pretty red seats from the bowling alley. Why not? Margaret kills more zombies. She just can't help herself. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Margaret is going to kill them all. How many is she on now? 12,269. She retreats once more when it's getting dark and she's getting sleepy, back to that same row of terraced houses, which she works her way through one by one, by day, night by night. Nice, so we can read our tailoring book for a little bit this time. Till about +9, I think. Then she's up early on day 187 to demonstrate some of her excellent driving skills. Oh my goodness, Margaret, beautiful driving. Kills some more zombies in the fog and checks out the potato factory. Guessing this is probably just going to be a lot of potatoes, Margaret. Yes, you weren't wrong about that. Not really any interest to us, not gonna lie. Yes, it is just potatoes. No use to sweet Margaret. This warehouse is slightly more useful though. Big old warehouse. Another machete. Oh boy, we are machete rich. She climbs up onto the warehouse roof above the foggy clouds. The sounds of the zombies are very faint up here. It's quite peaceful. Found lots of plaster there. Means we can plaster our walls, hopefully. Margaret finds an army surplus store amazing. She hopes it's got a lot more ammo and guns inside, but she gets a little tired before she can head inside. She retreats to the rooftop of the warehouse and relaxes on a plastic chair. Then it's back to the army surplus store, which is full of loot, but unfortunately Margaret didn't bring her sledgehammer with her to access the back room. A rookie mistake. Another machete though. It's just raining machetes. And another one. The day is getting on though, and she needs somewhere to crash for the night. She finds another perfect spot, a cozy little toilet, which she has carried a canvas bed into. She sleeps comfortably in the toilet on the canvas bed, and in the morning of day 188 loads up the trailer with all her goodies. Just one last thing before she leaves, she checks the railings for new clothes and settles on this snazzy officer's coat to match her hat. It's extremely cold outside, and this leads her to the booze shop. There are plenty of beers and bottles of bourbon inside, which she then loads into the trailer. Look at all that booze. We'll have a look in here, even though I don't expect there to be anything useful. I just saw this plant on the table, that's all. Another Venus flytrap. Have to rescue it, feed it some bugs. Should we just have a look at some of these more industrial buildings and factories and such? I'll always take a box of screws. Why did I say it like that? I like that metal stool. She continues looting the industrial buildings, including this largely useless knife and fork factory and some storage units full of interesting bits of furniture. She'll take as much as she can carry for Fort Stump. The trailer is full now, so she decides to head back. Once she's home, she puts down the new fish trap she found and checks the other traps and sticks the plentiful little fish into the freezer outside. She also pops to the garage to fill up a couple of gas cans. What a busy few days. We'll unload and start decorating tomorrow, Margaret, I think. Sounds like a lovely idea, doesn't it? For now, though, get some sleep. On day 189, she decorates the fort for most of the morning, putting down signs here, trying on a new fetching raccoon hat and decorating the upstairs room with lovely junk. Then it's back out again with an empty trailer to fill up on whatever she can find in the army surplus store backroom. There's a whole lot of ammo and guns back here. She cleans out the store and loads up the trailer with her booty. Just before it gets too late, she investigates a few more storage units. What the hell's that? Train signal, skill required. Farming. What? Why? Right, it's dark. We should head back. No need to be out here this late, Margaret. Getting carried away again. She's actually starving as well because we didn't bring any food with us, so let's pop back to the fort. Margaret drives back to the base. Driving recklessly fast in the snow. Margaret, calm down a little bit. Also very tired. Starving. And then settles down to bed. On day 190, she unloads the trailer, puts down this bench, decorates her bedroom and the spare room. I mean, it doesn't matter where she puts it because Margaret doesn't want to have anyone to play pool with anyway. So we can just leave it there, can't we? Sad but true, Margaret. Sorry to break it to you, my girl. You are entirely alone except for this weird meat hand person. Then she heads out again on a new mission. She drives headfirst into Louisville. But my darling Margaret, you must remember there are zombies here. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Few bad guys then. Won't be an easy battle to get what I want. Thankfully, Margaret is always prepared for bloodshed. After that slaughter, she pulls up in front of her destination, the Louisville Art Gallery. Unfortunately, there are quite a few other visitors. Once again, though, Margaret didn't bring any food with her. She really needs a checklist next to the door for this kind of thing. She investigates this cake shop, but everything is rotten. She kills a few more zombies and gets a bit tired, so she rests on the upstairs floor of the shop, mouth-watering at all the yummy cake pictures on the walls. The gallery itself also seems to be overflowing with the undead. She sneaks her way in, machete at the ready. As soon as it's clear, she starts ripping the paintings off the walls. Gotta take the girl with the pearl earring. Nomad above the gloom. That's Margaret. Margaret yoinks this statue and then decides it's a little unsafe and it's starting to get dark. Probably back towards those houses. There's bound to be food in the cupboards there, I'd assume. Might be some food in the hotel, but there's also a lot of zombies down there, so I'm not so keen on that option. Whereas if we head this way, we're going back towards areas that we've already cleared, kind of, a little bit. And we can come back in the morning and loot the rest of the art gallery. She makes her way back to her beloved terraced houses and finds a house with some food in and somewhere to sleep. And corned beef. Perfect. Good night, Margaret. On day 191, the day begins with a simple mission. Find food. There is a beautiful cupboard of goodies right next door, so that's nice. She slurps on some honey straight away. Lovely bee juice. It's been a hard-fought battle to get here, Margaret. Look at all these corpses. But it's been worth it for all that delicious, lovely art on the other end. She heads straight to the gallery to continue her mission of rescuing the art. Let's pillage some art. What is that? Ambiguous painting. We have to be a little selective and only take the paintings that Margaret likes. Margaret does like that. We'll come back for that at the end. You gotta take Starry Night. Ninja with stars painting. Man with one ear painting. Nice. Thomas Jefferson. The hero. He'd kill a lot of zombies, I reckon, if he was still around. Abe Lincoln. Another hero. Margaret is nothing but a patriot. Have a cigarette in the silence of the gallery. You're not actually looking at any paintings on that wall, but, you know. There's art everywhere if you look hard enough, isn't there, Margaret? It's a little busy inside. Margaret begins her tentative mission to climb the floors. She hates staircases. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, she's just a scratch. It's just a scratch. It's just a scratch. They knocked my hat off. Oh god. You bastards. I hate stairs in this game. Should have lured them down, I guess. Should have known better. She kills a few more zombies despite the brush with death, because she is relentless. It seems like a good idea to try a different set of stairs, so she heads to the foyer and makes her way to the second floor. Wow. What a lovely piece of modern art, Margaret. Shame you can't take it with you. The world used to be such a strange place. Rothkos. Gotta take some Rothkos. Margaret's favourite artist. Hey, these guys are cute. Nice. Duchamp, I think, was the toilet. Getting bored, Margaret. You're literally in an art gallery. You're looking at some of the best modern art in the world. Isn't it thrilling and so enticing? And not pick up the floor, Margaret. Pick up the painting. Okay, that's quite enough for today, I think. Let's get out of here. She fills up on art and then decides to head out. It was a little too close on the stairs. Art is not worth death, especially when she is the only person on Earth left to appreciate it. As she drives past the ruined, burned husk of Spiffos, she thinks about the fire she set in the city a few days ago. What did happen to that huge fire that we left burning? Do you reckon they're just still burning? I'm not sure how that works. Neither is Margaret. Margaret. At home, she puts up her new art. Her fort is really starting to look pretty kitsch inside, don't you think? Oh, nice. I like how it blends in with the already existing paint on the wall, Margaret. How about that? Margaret never wants to look at herself in the mirror again, so she's going to put that painting up there instead. A lovely statue to admire, Margaret. Margaret would love to plaster the walls, but in all her 200 days of adventuring, she's yet to find a single bucket. A quest for the future, perhaps. Alright then, let's get some sleep. Read a little bit before bed. On the frozen morning of day 192, Margaret tidies up the grass outside and begins work on a new outbuilding, a home for Beatrice. She works on it for a couple of hours, then has to cut down more trees for planks. This process repeats itself for the entire day. Hard work makes the soul strong, Margaret, that's what the egg always says. She starts work on the roof before wrapping up the evening in a comfy chair with a book. Day 193 is much the same. She cuts down trees and works on the outbuilding until the roof is finished. Margaret isn't quite done yet though, so she cuts down even more trees, total deforestation, and builds a fence around the roof and begins the walkway to attach the two parts of the building. This creates a nice inner courtyard for the statue she got earlier, Margaret's little garden. She starts day 194 by building a staircase up to the new walkway. Don't worry, she's going to wall off either side of the bigger walls to prevent zombies stumbling up it, although it's unlikely any will wander her way. The work continues throughout the day and Margaret goes to bed, a little exhausted. Good night, Margaret. On day 195, to break up the monotony of building, she heads out into the city to investigate the fire-scorched Spiffos church and food market from her previous zombie-killing endeavours. There are still quite a few zombies shambling about, which she dispatches swiftly with her trusty machete. The food market's certainly seen better days. This cursed apartment block again. Should have burnt it to the ground when I had the chance. Maybe I will do that anyway. Ah yes, Margaret wants a fiery end to her 200 days of survival, so she heads back to get supplies. She just stops to do a quick gas run, and the driveway is also a little cluttered, starting to annoy her, so she backs Beatrice up into her new home. And just one last thing, she does a bit of work on the truck. She doesn't want it to fall to pieces in the middle of a horde. After all that, she feels a bit sad, so she guzzles a beer before bed. Okay then, Margaret, let's get some sleep. On day 196, she's up very early with a panic attack, so the egg commands her to do some exercise with her new dumbbell. The exercise tires her out, so she's able to get back to sleep at about 3 AM. At 8 AM, she grabs the Molotovs and heads back into town for a big, fiery party. She hops out of the car, throws a Molotov, and... oh my god, she just got bitten through the window. It's just a laceration. Oh my god, that's... an almost deserved punishment. Margaret for being too cheeky with it. Thank god, it was but a scratch. She bandages herself up, drives up the road, wriggling, weaving, dancing in the truck, and throws another Molotov. She doesn't care if the city burns to the ground. Margaret hops out, throws another, and plows through the burning horde with little regard for her safety or the trucks. Whoa, okay, Margaret, that's a little bit risky behaviour. I respect it, though. She's plowed straight through them. This is Margaret Stump. She's not afraid. On the dance of the flaming dead goes on and on and on, twisting and turning through the streets, the crackle of zombie flesh in her ears. Ah, yes. Beautiful sight. She takes a few pot shots out of the window with her pistol. Why the hell not? She's having fun. She is now, however, out of Molotovs, and she knows she has many bottles of bourbon back at home, so she pops back and crafts a few more. She's in quite a lot of pain, so we should probably just take it easy for today. How many Molotovs did we craft? 8. And a pipe bomb. Oh, baby. Yeah, she needs rest for her big day tomorrow, where she's going to blow up Louisville, essentially, or at least that disgusting apartment block where all the zombies live. After an hour or so of crafting and organising and looting, she realises that her hand really hurts quite a lot from where the zombie got a little scratch out of it, and she saw from the exercise also. She decides to take the rest of the day off before heading out again. Margaret watches 2 VHS tapes back to back, but she hardly hears what's on the telly. Her mind is elsewhere in a fiery pit of vengeance for Leslie and every other sad soul in Kentucky. After spending the day watching tapes, she's hit by a wave of inspiration. Let's go get that lovely other truck she remembers is in a nearby parking lot. Whoa, this one is fast. Maybe I should take this one out. Time for war, Margaret. We'll start the day with some pre-battle canned potatoes. Yes, you heard her on day 197, it's time for war. She drives up past the apartment block of doom and chucks a Molotov straight through the window. The whole thing will burn. Buildings, zombies, all of it. She gets out and throws another, and another. This one a little close for comfort. Oh, big bang. A fog starts to roll in, but Margaret doesn't mind. She rolls down her window and starts blasting. Okay, that's enough for one day. 8 PM. Leaving a burning horde behind us. Let's go home, Margaret. God knows how many killed. I think we killed like 50 just with our pistol, let alone the fire. This truck performed brilliantly. What a beauty. Home sweet home. Treat ourselves to a beer, I think, Margaret. A nice warm one from the cupboard. Delicious. And you've almost made it, Margaret. You've almost made it to 200 days. Almost 7 months. Wow. Half a year. Ah, hero. I love. Yeah. Margaret. What can we have as a little snack? Let's have some mint candy. How about that? A very nutritious dinner. Alright then. Let's head up to bed. Good work today. Bloodthirsty killer. She's going to sleep with her pistol. On day 198, Margaret Stump has a simple mission. Get a gravestone from the cemetery for her fallen hero and stinky partner, Leslie Stump. She heads out on the foggy morning in the pink truck. The weather is very fitting. Pathetic fallacy. She has to kill a few zombies, which is also fitting. No quest is a quest without a little hardship after all, and the hardship gets a lot worse when she tries to pick up the gravestones. Farming. Why? It's crazy. Why is that a farming skill? No shovel, no party. God damn. She checks the cemetery building, but there isn't one here, just more undead, and then she checks out the small groundkeeper's shed. Thankfully, there's a garden hoe in one of the boxes, which means she's able to pick up the gravestones. Don't question it. It just makes sense. She loads them up in the back of the truck and heads home. The Leslie Stump Memorial Garden. We built this all for you, Leslie. Testament to the willpower of the Stump family. We could make it a little prettier, couldn't we? Leslie would have wanted a gnome to watch over his grave, I think. Margaret stands over the grave of her fallen husband. What a journey. She wishes that he'd been there to see it all with her, for them to live in peace in Fort Stump for the rest of their days, growing old together, fishing, farming, surviving. Imagining Leslie is there with her, she does a day 200 base tour. Here we have our laundromat room. Beautiful interior decoration, Margaret, really quite something. Through here we have our living room. Again, stunning, very beautiful. I really love the disjointed colours and half paintings on the wall. I really like what you've done with the place, Margaret. Here we have the hallway with the piano that we've never played. Our friends. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Fred. Vanessa. Here we have the kitchen. Also the table of bugs and other interesting things. What does Margaret have on there now? Yes, the rotten watermelon, the radio, rotten milk, bunch of rubber ducks and playing cards, the Pokemon cereal. You get the point. That's the kitchen. Here's the gun room, including a lovely statue of Margaret Stump herself. It's the fishing room. Not that interesting. The upstairs. Again, pretty chaotic in here. Lovely meat hand. The upstairs chill-out room still needs a little bit of work. Margaret Stump's bedroom, with a bust of Leslie. Perhaps that should go by his grave. No, Margaret likes to fall asleep looking into the stony face of Leslie every night. It's our bathroom. Lovely paintings. The rest of the house isn't finished yet, you can see. Still some rooms that need work. The exterior walkway gives us a view over the fort. Zuzu the van. Red guy, bunch of trailers. Here we can see the Leslie Stump Memorial Garden from above. Whoa, careful, Margaret. Beatrice's new home, still not finished yet. Needs a little more work. Ah, Margaret. Almost 200 days survived. 13,170 kills. Oh, hero. Absolute monster. Can't forget Creepy Joe, of course, who is our bestest friend. Yes. Margaret downs 6 beers and collapses in a pile on the floor, stone cold drunk. The world spins. Everything changes. She feels the wind on her face, the sound of dripping water, a pain all over her body, and a smell of earth and death. She wakes up. Oh God. Where am I? Where am I?